ちゃん。
Do not worry about the game not... Oh my god. Not showing up. It's just OBS being a little weird today. But, hello.
Hello. Good evening. I hope you're doing good. Oh my god. Thank you for the short hair. That was quick.
What's mean to you today? Haha. Hey, did you know I turned out that many emergency vehicles only to reassess my Yakuza 4? It took 3 minutes to actually work on. Well, if it makes you feel any better, this fucking game does not want to show up on OBS properly. So we're gonna have to deal with me having to like show you guys my desktop, which frankly is not something that I enjoy doing very much because I'm always scared that something is going to show up in the front that I don't want. So let me... Ta-da! You can now see my Steam. Fun. It takes magical eyes to see it. Well, it better not. It better fucking not, but anyway. So, 1 second. Because this game doesn't even give you, it doesn't even give you an option. If you click return to title, and believe me how long it took me to find this fucking menu here after starting the game. We return to title, and we immediately, get told how the story starts. I'm like, whoa, okay, damn, I want to stream this. Calm down.
これはそう遠くない昔の話。
Also, it makes me laggy. As hell. Despite this being a visual novel, which hopefully doesn't actually take up that much RAM. Or literally anything. But here we are.
森に囲まれたとある村に花のように可愛らしい一人の少女がおりました。月のない夜のような黒い髪と透き通るような白い肌をした女の子です。
It's a nice voice though.
少女はその可愛らしさ以外にもたくさんの宝物を持っていました。
Also, I have no... I know I say this for every other game we play, but I have no clue what this one is about. All I know is that it's... like 10 hours if you read it for yourself. So maybe... I don't know, maybe 4 streams for us or something? She doesn't say super cheap. Yeah! I don't know, maybe it's just going to take a while. But it's like, I don't really have a way to change the settings for this thing. Like if it's a 3D game or something, I could change something about the V-Sync, blah blah blah. We don't even have this problem with the Yakuza games anymore, but some random visual novels like, ho ho! You're slow now.
例えば笑顔。
Also, this sounds like Snow White.
少女が笑えば不愛想な鍛冶屋もつられて笑い出します。
The black hair and the porcelain white skin sounds like Snow White.
例えば歌声。少女が歌えば村人だけでなく森の動物までもが踊り出します。そうして少女は心優しい家族や賑やかな村人たちに愛されながら、それはよく晴れたある日のことです。森が色づく時期にだけなる美味しい木の実を取るために少女は友達と森に出かけることにしました。
Oh, you can read the last word says colors, the autumn colors. I'm sorry, I'm covering it.
悪い魔物に操られた少女はありとあらゆるものを壊し続けます。
Excuse me?
おもちゃも家もそれ以上に大事なものもたくさんの足でたくさん壊します。
Okay.
少女はとても悲しみました。
The little girl is also a giant spider now?
姿形が変わり果て、手や足を魔物に操られているのだとしても、目も耳も心も少女のままだったからです。 そしていつしか少女はこれ以上大切なものが壊れていく様を見たくないとミゼスがどれだけ少女が終わりを望んでも魔物はそれを許しませんでした。魔物にとって少女は何百年と待ち続けた乗り物だったからです。止まない雨がないように地獄のような日々にもやがて終わりが訪れます。それは月がやけに黄色い夜のことでした。少女の村に魔物の噂を聞きつけた2人の騎士が現れたのです。1人目の騎士はのっぽでとても強そうです。もう1人の騎士は若く小柄でのっぽの騎士ほど強そうには見
Maybe
え
it's
ま
not
せん。
Snow White. Is the font type not familiar? Seen it runs its fruit, but the factory publishes and advertises events on sale.
Thank you so much for the resub. I'm sorry, I'm so laggy.
But yeah, it's Fruit Bat Factory, yeah. It's literally, by the way, this game is on sale right now for like 50% off or something. So depending on how well this goes, maybe some of you are gonna try and get it.
嘆き悲しむ村人にのっぽの騎士が言いました。
But yeah, I've had it for a
我々
while.
は魔
I
物を
also bought
退
it
治するために
sometime when it was
遠
on
い国
sale.
からやってきました。必ずや魔物を倒し少女を助けてみせましょう。村人たちは騎士の言葉を信じませんでした。騎士たちに魔物を倒せるはずはなく、また新しい犠牲が出るとしか思えなかったのです。
I hope you're doing well, by the way, Guardian.
こうして村と少女の身に再び平和が訪
Stay
れ
at
まし
home
た。
bundle, couple of years back. Oh yeah, I know that feeling of having so many games. I've bought pretty much all of the bundles on itch.io, like the Black Lives Matter bundle, what were the other two? The Palestine bundle, and the third one that I cannot come up with the name right now. I bought all of those, so I have a bunch of like indie games and smaller. Oh, the Ukraine bundle, thank you. Oh my god, yeah. I have a bunch of games from there as well, and I think I actually own this game on itch.io as well. I have a few visual novels on itch.io that I own on Steam, just because they were part of some bundles. I'm like, damn, because I keep forgetting that I own games on itch.io as well. You're doing alright. Hope you're doing good. I'm okay. I wish my computer wasn't dying. I don't know what's happening. You dig through a few of those super big ones, see what I can dig up. Yeah, there's a bunch of good stuff in there. That's not even the thing. The problem is just I forget. Because on Steam I just have it all in one place, right? I can just scroll down and think to myself, oh god, I still have like 200 visual novels I've yet to play. Woo! It's option paralysis. Yes, exactly. There's too much. Maybe one day though.
村に残った傷跡は少なくないけれど、村人たちは誰一人として少女を責めることはありません。
I know I definitely still want to play a short hike, but it's really a short hike. It's not a long game, so I don't know when to play it. It's too short. You've put one hell of a dent in your backlog this year. Oh, for sure. Actually, what was it? Tasomachi is actually our 17th game that we finished on stream since I started playing. It's not the 17th game we've played overall on stream, but it's the 17th game I finished since I started last year. And I'd like to think that's pretty good. That's like around 30 games in both of the years that I've been streaming so far, so it's nice. Almost all of them games I had not played before as well. So
少女は操られただけであり、一番多くのものを失ったのは幼い彼女であることを
Wow, that's fascinating. A village that is understanding of the person who was manipulated? Wow.
悲しみの終わりを祝うために村人たちは祭りを行うことにしました。もちろんその輪の中に少女を迎え入れて、少女がそれに気づいたのは祭りの喧騒の中でのことでした。テーブルに並んだケーキが甘いことはわかるのに、それを美味しいとは思えません。
Oh no.
森の広がる闇が暗いことがわかるのに、それを怖いと思えません。そしてそう思えない自分を
Oh, she
辛い
lost
と
her
も
emotions?
悲しいとも思うことさえできなくなっていたのです。たくさんの大切なものを壊したせいで、 少女の心も壊れてしまったのか、あるいは魔物が死の間際に呪いを残していったのか、どうしてかはわからないけれど、少女の中からは気持ちがすべて消えてしまっていたのです。
Oh no.
震える声で少女は語りかけます。私のことを覚えていますか？助けた相手が元気でいることを喜んでくれるのか、それとも約束を守れていない自分を軽蔑するのか、答えはわからないけれど、少女は若い騎士に声をかけずにはいられませんでした。私はかつてあなたに助けていただいた少女です。あの時はどうもありがとう。少女は言葉を続けます。一度言葉を止めてしまえば、それ以上何も話せなくなるような気がしたからです。そしてごめんなさい。私はあの時の約束を守れていないのです。懸命に話す少女の顔を見て、若い騎士は不思議そうな表情を浮かべました。そして騎士は少女が予想したどんな答えとも違う言葉を、あの若者は呪いにかかっているのだ。ようやく老人は重い口を開きました。
Huh?
それはどんな呪いなのですか？問いかける少女に老人はしわがれた声で答えます。それがどんな呪いなのか、どうすれば解けるのかは誰にもわからない。ただ一つわかっているのは、その呪いが遠くない未来に若者を殺してしまうということだ。少女は不思議に思い尋ねます。どんな呪いかわからないのに、どうしてそれが呪いだとわかるのですか？簡単な話だよ。あの若者は決して手放せない荷物を持っているのだ。どれだけ重くても、いつか重さで体が潰れるのだとしても、手を離すことができないのだから、荷物の中身は関係ないんだよ。老人の話は難しくて、少女には全てを理解することはできませんでした。
I feel it. I have no fucking clue what you guys are talking about.
でも少女は老人が嘘をついているとは考えませんでした。もしも呪いの話が本当なら、あの騎士がいつも悲しそうな顔をしている理由が分かった気がしたからです。気持ちを一度なくしたことも、
I have a feeling that the scenes where it's like all
全ては必然だったのかもしれない
are things that happen in
少女は
between that
思
we
いました。
just don't know about because it keeps
そし
jumping.
て夕暮れに染まる若い騎士の背中を思い出しながら、少女は心に決めました。彼の呪いは自分が解くのだと。
Oh,
今の自分の全ては彼が守り与えてくれたものなのだから、ただそれを返すだけのことなのだから、少女は心に決めたのです。どんな手を使ってもあの騎士を助けてみせると。彼自身が望まないのだとしても、この身が犠牲になるのだとしても、たとえ世界のすべてを敵に回したとしても。
okay.
マジカルアイズ、レッドイズフォーアングイッシュ。
Red is for Anguish. Okay. We finally get a menu, huh? Okay. Cool. How's the sound though? Oh my god, why does it do that? interesting way to open, for sure. It's a little loud though, isn't it? I have a feeling it's a little loud. But maybe it's just me. Yeah, a little bit. I'm sorry, every time I tap out it's gonna... Maybe like this? Better? Yeah, I think that sounds better. Anyway, so according to the reviews, this game kind of leads up to a sequel, but there is no sequel, so we're just gonna hope for the best, because apparently the stuff it does open up with does get explained, and it's good enough as it is, so I love games that have the writing of, hey, maybe we want a sequel at some point, and then a sequel never comes out for whatever reason. But yeah. Let's go. I'm happy to be alive, that's good. Feels a little cheap and out of place to put it into words, but I can't think of any way to say it better. No, maybe it's more accurate to say I'm happy that she's alive. My heart is pounding rapidly as if trying to keep up with the scenery racing by outside the window. That's hardly a surprise, because the day has finally come. The promise we first made to meet outside the hospital. It's just to go for some pointless shopping, but what's behind the promise should be invaluable for both of us. We first met each other exactly 4 years ago. At the time, she had already been hospitalized for a little over 4 years. Considering that she hadn't been able to leave even once during that time, except for the occasional short trip back to her home, this will be the first time in 8 years she has done something for herself. I just want to walk in a place that has no roof over my head until I've had my fill, she would always say. That's why just thinking about her current feelings makes me feel light as a feather. And on top of that, the reason she's going out today is for a date with me. I'm so happy I could die right now. Whoa. The routine sound begins to slow down. I hear familiar, or quite honestly, an announcement I'm quite tired of. Echoing through the still interior of the car with what sounds like a big sigh, the door was open in a momentary farewell. I've been coming to the station almost every day for the past 4 years, but today it feels strangely different because of the new purpose for my visit. I left my house both so nervous and happy it almost made me want to take my time and walk slowly. Hasn't been updated since 2017. Well, we're gonna take it for what it is and see what it's like. That's good enough for me. But right now, even if I try to hold back, my feet are rushing me there all by themselves. It almost makes me laugh. Worst exit! As I reach the middle platform of the stairs, my nose picks up the peculiar salty scent of the sea. Regardless of the season, when it smells like this in this town, it's proof that rain is coming. The sky must be in a foul mood to stay such an unchanging grey from the early morning hours. I'll have to hurry a bit. Thinking those things, I head to the bicycle parking for what I hope is the last time. Some of Rudis must have believed in it as its own story by itself. Yeah, right? They wouldn't have picked it up to translate it if they felt like it was not complete enough, I think. So that's good. That's nice. Under the dull cloudy sky, I turn my focus to the usual spot at just about the center of the second row. Not a few seconds pass before I notice that something is out of place. Oh. This isn't the first time that I've had my bike stolen, but I still can't help but complain. Oh, what? It's not even the first time someone stole your bike? That is fucked up, my guy. Why today of all days? I'm not sure how much it helps, but by chance I left home 30 minutes earlier than I had planned. Feeling grateful for that fact, I start pondering which road I'm going to run down to the meetup spot. Also, interesting shape of the, prologue. Okay. The red beginning. Ooh. You've had your bike stolen several times? Spooky. Spooky. It was confirmed yesterday that the woman named Murase Tomomi had turned into a variant. A type B, she was moving around the downtown Y City area when caught by one of those in charge of that region. Given the urgency of the situation, 2 more support personnel joined up and commenced hostilities. She shook free easily, confirming her superior strength as a type B. An investigation by the intelligence supervisor began the same day in order to determine an appropriate way to handle her. Lucid 9 Inciting Incident was really good. We've been trying to do a sequel for like 8 years. Oh, Lucid 9 rings a bell, but I can't place it. The place she'd been living in by herself during her lifetime was not one of the new apartment houses towering close to where she was discovered, but rather a 25-year-old cheap one-room apartment tucked away in the nooks between those high rises. It's free! Due to the shade cast by those looming towers, her room remained dark and gloomy all day from morning to night. In a corner of the room, unbecoming of a young woman living alone, what was once a girl lay on the floor as though rolled up in a ball. Her death was established to have occurred 3 days before the body was discovered. While she was alive, she worked at the office of a foreign capital group downtown, where everyone around her praised both her work ethic and her character. She didn't have any trouble with her neighbors. If anything, they were rather fond of her. So why had no one noticed the death of a girl like her for 3 whole days? For one thing, misfortune visited her over the weekend, and since Monday was a national holiday, she would have had 3 days off. If it was a weekday, someone from her company would have been worried about her sudden absence, and maybe she could have been discovered before her death. However, even with that possibility in mind, a more serious cause lay in her peculiar relationships. For a girl like her, for whom being sociable and open came easily, there should have been a great deal of information accessible regarding her private life. Or so the investigators had assumed, seeming almost betrayed when there were none who knew much about her private life. According to one of her co-workers, someone as intelligent as her was probably living a sociable life outside of the workplace as well. According to the elderly married couple living next door, it's rare for a girl to be as cheerful as she was. There's no doubt she must have helped set the mood at her company. According to the florist whose store the girl frequented, she really knew her flowers. I had a good feeling about her. The more information was collected, the more questions arose. No matter who was asked, they'd occasionally spoken with her and considered her a good person, but didn't have a close relationship with her. Even if they had not had any communication with her for several days, none would have felt suspicious about it. But it's not that the people around her were rejecting her. Conversely, regardless of age or gender, there were apparently few people who didn't want to be her friend. Invitations to drinks with her co-workers after work or shopping outings with her neighbors. She was the one obstinately declining all the countless approaches from others. In other words, it wasn't that there was something wrong with her character which caused her to remain isolated. It must mean that she led that kind of lifestyle deliberately. You could even say that precisely because she was popular, the fact that she had no friends who ignored her inclination to solitude and pushed themselves into her private life eventually led to her death. There was one more unnatural aspect to her lifestyle. Her performance at work was promising, and the company used an annual salary system. Thus, she was doing exceptionally well financially for someone who had just entered the company a few years ago. In fact, she would have even been making enough to take up residence in one of the high-rise condos that saw the sunlight from her room. Her bank account held an amount few would have imagined given her modest lifestyle. So why was she living in a cheap apartment? And why had she grown so deeply ingrained in a life of solitude? Those are the head scratches that the accounts of those around her give no answer to whatsoever. Ironically, however, she herself was the one who could provide the answers to those questions. But she's dead. Oh, diaries with entries dated until 2 days before death were found on the rack under her bed. The writing recorded in these 4 bundles of paper spanning the past 10 years was too odd for something you would write in your diary. As the dates approached the present, a trend became clear. There was little to nothing written about her recent activity. Rather, she only wrote of her thoughts for a certain someone living in a distant city. The same tendencies apparent toward the beginning of her recordings from her high school and college years. Nothing but boring content, not a thing about any specific friends or teachers. Nevertheless, anything and everything regarding that certain someone was written about as if it were of great importance, even things that would seem trivial. I chose this game, by the way, because it's voiced, so I wouldn't have to read as much, but... Grandma. It appears that by the time she started composing this journal in high school, she was already living together only with her grandmother. What about her parents? What circumstances led to the cohabitation of those with such a large age difference? Nothing written in the diary helps to answer those questions. On the contrary, given the length of the journal and that it's not addressed even once, it must have been something she was trying not to touch upon, or perhaps it was something that had happened before she grew old enough to be aware. In any case, it must not have been of that great importance to her. Over 1,000 pages in all, and every page was filled with nothing but mundane entries chronicling the day-to-day life of this girl and old woman. Surprise! It's voiced by me! About how delicious the lemon soda they drank together was. About how happy she was to have her grandmother decorate the living room with a souvenir she had bought on her school trip. About the first time they made dinner together, and even though it wasn't very good, her grandmother ate it all while telling her how tasty it was. A new audiobook. These trifling ordinary stories you could find anywhere were described with such care as if they were sparkling gems. The deep feelings toward her grandmother that this one high school student held could be felt on every page. It almost surpassed affection. Perhaps it was a deep and profound feeling of gratitude. Not that which you hold for a blood relative, but something different, almost as if it were a gratitude you hold for a benefactor. Presumably, the beginning of the relationship between this old woman and young girl was nothing mundane. If that's the case, then even though the world was narrow and peculiar, the earnest love for each other is what brought them together as family. It wasn't until the latter half of the third journal, near the end of her college years, that her life began to change suddenly. She became an adult and began to worry about her path in life. At a time when she was naturally thinking of finding work or continuing studies in her hometown, her grandmother gave some words of advice to her granddaughter. You ought to try living on your own once. Even to a far-removed third party reading this journal for the first time, the intention behind her words was clear. She knew she would surely die before her granddaughter and was worried for the girl who would be left behind, so that the granddaughter whom she loved but who was not yet self-reliant could continue living after she was gone. It was easy to imagine that's what she wished for. If anyone else had said it, she likely would have rejected it outright, but the fact that it was none other than her grandmother saying such a thing troubled her greatly. Several days later, she would find in herself one resolution to her distress. It was one sad resolution that was far different from what her grandmother had expected. She would leave town in order to one day live a life with her grandmother again, a life forever filled with joy and happiness. To establish an environment in which they could live together forever by her becoming more socially and economically independent. She had made a decision which ran counter to the emotional independence her grandmother had wished for. In only 2 seasons, she would find employment in a company in which she could expect the income she hoped for. Her grandmother was so happy you would think she was the one who got the job. But though the love they felt for each other was unchanged, by then they two were probably already growing apart. Then spring came. She should have had not only anxiety, but also hopes for a new life in an unfamiliar city. But what she needed most couldn't have existed in that city. So begins the 4th diary. It was already clear that the contents written therein couldn't be called a journal. What she needed existed neither in the time spent with her co-workers, nor the time she spent alone in private. It could only be found in feelings behind the short phone conversations after work with that someone in a distant place. Since separating from her grandmother, it was as if she realized all over again that everything other than the little world in which they spent time together was worthless to her. Her grandmother probably misunderstood. What was worse was that her granddaughter probably didn't even realize it herself, that this girl named Murase Tomomi was growing warped. A mind and a wish slightly different from those of the others. When put into words, what she was holding on to might have been a trivial wish that could be found anywhere. Even though many others may hold similar thoughts and aspirations, they are neither able to, nor even try to make those come true. For her, the most sorrowful thing must have been that she was not one of the many others. She held the ability and will strong enough to make pipe dreams a reality. It's a contradictory story. For the sake of gaining a peaceful life with her grandmother, no matter what she would have to sacrifice or suffer through, even if she knew it meant losing her own repose in the end, she would probably have kept going forward. At least she could have done it with support of that strength and volition of hers affected by her own twistedness. But it seems that reality was cruel to her beyond measure, for even if she were still alive today, her dreams and wishes would not have paid off. What happened the night of her death? An old woman, whom a certain girl would have sacrificed her own self to make happy, passed away. Ironically, at approximately the same time that it's thought the granddaughter died, the grandmother, in solitude with no one to care for her, did as well. There was no causal relationship between the two deaths. It was simply that this family who had shared such a strong emotional bond in a distant city had, by chance, welcomed death in similar circumstances. If there was one difference, it would be that, having lived so long, death was more or less inevitable for the grandmother. Her death was just a consequence of sickness and old age. She knew that sooner or later her flame of life must be extinguished. It is easily predictable that she didn't tell her granddaughter anything about it at all, so that she could avoid worrying her. Because she believed that had she told her everything, her granddaughter would have sacrificed anything and everything to come to her side. In conclusion, she had been struggling in vain for a delightful dream that never would come to fruition, without being told the single important thing she should have known. Her grandmother, the most essential element to realizing her desire, had already given up on living with her granddaughter long ago. And then, the woman called Murase Tomomi saw the bubble-like aspiration that she had held ever since childhood burst and vanish. The journal entry 3 days before her death. Though brief, she wrote unusually of her own self. Recently, my migraines have come quicker and stronger. I'm making Granny worry. I should go see the doctor next weekend. That was all that was written. On an arterial road at 2 in the morning, this section of the road has been closed due to suddenly announced construction and is now cloaked in piercing silence. If construction work was progressing according to schedule, the crew should be rushing to complete it right now. But there are no workers or construction vehicles to be seen. Oh. There is instead a boy seemingly in his late teens. He has one good reason to be staying in this peculiar location. He's waiting for Murase Tomomi, the type B variant, and the woman whose body is now her vassal, in order to turn both of them back into the way they belong. And by turning back, it doesn't mean that he's going to perform any out-of-the-box repairs or healing methods here. Engagement, destruction, dismantlement. And given the strength she possesses, he's not likely to escape the encounter unscathed either. Okay. It's clear enough to see around here without moonlight, but the moon is covered by somber clouds of night. Even so, although it's not as bright as daylight, the perimeter streetlights offer enough luminescence to afford a good view. He's able to recognize everything from a littered empty can to a tiny rock that is hardly noticeable without an intensely strong focus. I hope we're going to get a cool opening credit thing. Since he deeply understands that the enemy ahead of him won't be brought down easily, he considers every scrap of information about his surroundings valuable. While concentrating all his attention on his surroundings, he tries to recall what was written in Murase Tomomi's file. On the last date of her journal, there had been an entry about a telephone conversation she had with her grandmother. Her grandmother urged her to care more about herself. Having received those words grateful for her affection toward her, she instead decided to put her grandmother above anything else. Conversations such as this must have been repeated countlessly over the years between these two who cared so deeply for each other. He can't accept the unfairness that she'd been subjected to. How could anyone except her possibly tell how valuable her life was just by reading this series of letters? However it ended, that was the direction in life she had made up her mind to take. But nonetheless, now that her journey has concluded in an unfortunate and unfavorable way, why would she ever need to bear even more irrationality on her shoulders? The thoughts in her mind might have been twisted, but they shouldn't have been something impure that could harm other people. The young man sets his heart on getting his job done. He just happens to be involved in this case, but if there's one thing he's responsible for, it's to end everything once and for all, right here and now. Just like he always does. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That is an extremely primitive, simple providence of nature, denying everything it is allowed to exist, returning everything to where it belongs. That is his solemn task, and the ashes and dust that he faces are known as variants. They are what excessive human emotions end up becoming after the process defined as death. Just as light too bright may burn out one's retinas, too much of any good thing can be toxic to humans, even should it have the invisible form of one's emotions. While there's a large variety of forms or classes of variants, they share one common reason for existence. I don't know, should I say variant or variant? They only exist in order to make their wishes come true. In the case of Murase Tomomi, the wish is presumably to see her grandmother again, who had realized everything would be immediately resolved. When you lack intelligence on the opponent's strength and don't want to put yourself at risk, any way to settle things without a direct confrontation would be ideal. However, it's obviously impossible to take that option here. Her grandmother, the only water capable of quenching her intense thirst, is already gone, and that fact leaves no easy outs for the boy. Then what does he do? The only choice remaining is to break the target down using superior strength. Needless to say, however strong they might be, fists can never damage something as intangible as emotion, or so ordinary people would think. The young man is capable of making that happen. He's not only one of the extraordinary people who can do such unrealistic things, but also one of the most talented at fighting among them. A person whose exceptionality parallels that of the variants. That's what he truly is. The road that is normally teeming with long-haul trucks around the clock is still shrouded in thick silence. To be more precise, the silence dominating his surroundings has grown deeper than a couple minutes ago. His target is just around the corner, and all other living things follow their instincts to flee from the perimeter. The engagement is undoubtedly going to commence at this place in a minute or two. Despite being in such a tense situation, the young man has already gotten himself ready with a perfectly calm mind. The number of the streetlights in his sight and the distance between each of them, and even the irregularity of the road surface that seems perfectly flat, he has a grasp of every land feature in every direction that can be used during the incoming battle. He likes the fact that there are no potential obstructions nearby, such as residences or stores. You can say that this is one of the best locations for his characteristic features to work to their fullest. As long as he's in this well-prepared environment and the target is a Type B, the chances of him going down are slim to none. It's neither flippancy nor arrogance, it's a mere certainty. Not bad. He appreciates how the coordinator was able to pick such an optimal location for him on such short notice. But if he must voice one complaint, knowing that no one can do anything about it, I wish the moon and the stars were visible. That would be it. On the surface of the dark grey road, he doesn't lament over the cloudy sky for the sake of himself, but for the sake of his imminent target. For the sake of the variant, which has now become visible, recognizable earlier than calculated, which used to be addressed as Murase Tomomi. He hopes that, unlike her initial end of life in that solitary, poorly lit apartment of hers, he can at least let her see something prettier at the moment of her second ending. The variant, who will never know about his assiduity, is now nearly close enough for him to make out her facial expression. Type B variants don't possess their own flesh and blood, they need to find themselves a host. Murase Tomomi has chosen this charmingly short-haired slim woman. Though he only saw a picture of the objective, he feels the two women have some physical traits in common. She seems without significant injuries, but it's hard to gauge how much time has passed since she was possessed. At least, her feet are dirty and one shoe is missing. The two shadows face each other down on the deserted road. There's nothing in their way. The boy and the variant. Which one is the hunter and which the hunted? The answer will be evident soon. Slowly, yet steadily, the woman walks toward him, and the distance between the two shortens without fail. 5. They're a little over 10 meters apart. 4. From this distance, he can see that her clothing is slightly too light for this town in this time of the year. 3. While the city is still in the early stages of spring, Y-City, from which she came, must have a somewhat higher temperature. 2. So as to stay relaxed, he's letting some random thoughts come and go while accurately measuring his distance from her. 1. And his inner countdown is about to reach its end. 0. Right after letting a breath out, he takes up running. Unlike martial arts matches, there's no signal telling when to commence the fight. Therefore, the first strike is of utmost importance. His speed is as swift as the wind. If someone without any knowledge of him witnessed this, they would surely describe him as nothing but inhuman. He closes the interval at an overwhelming, beyond human velocity. Typically, his next move would be an instant strike to one of the opponent's pressure points, but this time he isn't going to bother due to the complete lack of input on her abilities and the vessel's physical fragility. The two fighters are already close enough to deliver blows to each other after a single step forward. Breaking off his straight approach, he suddenly switches over to to a curvilinear motion and grabs hold of her right wrist. He then uses the momentum generated by the switchover to sharply spin around to the back of the opponent. Now that strike's out of the question, there aren't many options left. Out of those limited alternatives, he chose a commonly used joint lock technique that is boring yet highly effective. At the moment when he's convinced he just needs to apply more pressure, he finds his body up in the air even though he's the one who took the first move. It was an inconceivably powerful throw, considering how slender the one who performed it is. In spite of the fact that the joint lock technique was halfway through, just one wave of the arm sent a man of 70-odd kilograms up into mid-air as if throwing a baseball. Reorienting himself up in the air, he lands on the concrete ground as though nothing had happened. He hasn't taken any damage. His impression from the first move is, honestly, not too good. The target's combat capability is within the range of his predictions. There's probably no real risk to himself. However, he'll have a hard time dealing with the vessel girl. He can sense that had he forced himself to get the locking technique done, her right hand would have certainly come off. Her tendons and joints aren't at the level of her superhuman strength bestowed upon her by the variant. Since that's the case, no more brutal attacks are allowed, or else it's blindingly apparent how her body will end up. We're scared of math because we're gay! She suddenly just jumps up. Her way of kicking off the ground looks as good as that of a professional athlete. Before he can think of the next move, she seems to want to go on the offense now. The interval between them disappears in a blink of an eye, and he can clearly sense her hostility toward him. The shivering atmosphere makes him back off right before a strike. The lethal blow punches through air, right where his hat had been moments before. Fortunately for him, she appears to have recognized him as an obstacle to dispose of. So far, so good. Basically, once a variant recognizes you as a threat, they will stick to you until you're out of their perceivable range. Since Mura Satomomi's attention is now fully fixed on the boy, as long as he remains close to her, there's little risk of her escaping into a nearby residential street or causing some other disaster like that. In fact, she's now on a stage from which only the winner is allowed to leave. All that's left is for the boy to complete his assignment. I like the facts. She shoots him a rain of blows literally without a break. None of them are executed along the lines of any martial arts forms. She simply strikes as hard and strong as she can, but each attack is brutal enough to easily snuff out human life. While the boy is easily capable of dodging them, he knows that performing those furious assaults must be taking its toll on the vessel's body, which leaves him only one choice. Guess it's about time. He exhales slowly to lower his oxygen level. His next move requires accurate control of his breathing. Ridding anything unnecessary from the inside of his body, he leaves his fighting pose and relaxes his muscles. What remains unchanged is a sensation of tension extended inside his body like a net. What he's about to do could look like some kind of suicidal act. Her right hand, right foot, and then left foot. While that storm-like self-preservation response of hers sees no end. He slowly steps directly toward the raging onslaught, completely defenseless as though enjoying a casual walk. In the next instant, a bursting sound runs in the dock of the night. An intense heat can be felt on his shoulder. The attack is a knife-hand strike that can crack the clavicle and shoulder blade of an ordinary person. The boy's second move is to purposely receive the blow. However, it's a completely different matter from a strategy of losing the battle to win the war. Low risk, yet high return. His idea is the unbalancing technique called twist that works only for strikes coming from above and front. In the course of the technique, the performer's body functions as a screw and the ground is a wall into which it is installed. At the moment of physical contact with the opposing combatant, the performer gives their own body a slight twist and creates a helical route that channels the impact of the attack down through their feet into the ground. The key to success is enormously accurate timing. Quite surprisingly, the boy perfectly parries the impact without any change in his expression. Not only is there no effect on any part of his own body, but even his clothes remain intact. But even if that's the case, the biggest benefit of this shock-absorbing technique is that the source of the impact doesn't take any rebound damage from either the technique or their own attack, which means that he can unbalance her without inflicting any physical harm. The more powerful the attack is, the more unbalanced the attacker gets. It is as good as punching the air with utmost effort. And steadied by the unexpected response from the boy, the vessel falls forwards with one leg back in mid-air. However physically abnormal she may be to the variant's control, she can hardly maintain a standing posture on one foot. There's no way he's going to miss this opportunity. After carefully estimating an adequate degree of restraint, he sets a sight on her exposed solar plexus and then fires a blow. He hears an unexpectedly dull sound. It's the boy, the one who attacked, that has received a great amount of its force. Unlike his first move, that blow wasn't only for the sake of finding out more about his strength. With any luck, it could have been decisive, but it was completely blocked by a variant part of hers. She returns a right punch to his midsection, but he sweeps it to the side. Before thinking about what happened, he kicks off the ground to gain distance and manages to avoid any further damage. Both combatants look outwardly fine after the instant exchange of blows, but he feels a light numbness in his right shoulder and hand. Had he taken the attack without any preparation and used all his strength, he would have been hurt even worse. Things have turned out well as an incidental result of him being considerate enough to go easy on the vessel's body. However, this exchange helped him understand the strangeness he sensed when he had snatched her wrist earlier. It is another attribute unique to the variants. The strengths are proportional to the strength of the base emotions. Their characteristics are determined according to the kinds of the base emotions. The boy thinks that if what triggered her transformation is her deep affection toward her grandmother, what she has been given as her variant powers is quite appropriate. The surface of Mura Satomomi's skin as variant possesses a beyond human solidity. It is probably an embodiment of her unyielding, unbreakable will for a deceased family member. She is now as hard as steel. and is too hard for normal human beings to easily crack. The discovery of a superpower means a lot to him. The variant's powers derive from the intangible things called emotions and break down into a number of categories. For one, it is a venom dissolving everything. For another, it is a blade slashing apart everything. Just one single misjudgment on it can dictate his assignment's outcome and even his own lifespan. He tries to put together what he's found out about her so far, her power solidity. However, it's no more than skin deep, and her joints and the rest remain unenhanced, and on top of that, he already has a concrete grasp of the muscle strength in her arms and legs. Even if there may still be some uncertainties, he has already learned more than enough to easily checkmate his opponent. That is the best fighting style for him, one who doesn't possess incredible speed or strength. He does not possess incredible speed or strength, yet the very first thing he did was like move at a speed that is not humanly possible. Okay. All he has to do is to watch for a chance to draw her into his game plan. The variant has now re-established herself and is charging toward him at an unimaginable speed for a girl of slight build. Her fierce and straightforward approach is easy to predict. If she ever had any experience in martial arts during her lifetime, some kind of feint could be expected, but there were no records indicating that in her file. Once you've turned into a variant, you no longer develop in any way. Your before-death experiences are everything you can rely on skill-wise. Keeping her at the most effective distance from himself, he continues provoking her to attack. If he were to get further from her than necessary, she would definitely forcibly chase after him, straining her body further. Rather than growing weaker, her attacks are steadily becoming harder and faster. If he were to take a hit, it would likely be fatal. Even with luck, long-lasting damage would be inevitable. However, at least her solidity power isn't of any use unless she succeeds in directly hitting him. Even if she uses it for her defense, it will probably protect her from things like bullets or knives, but it will not be able to stop him. Put another way, this variant, Murasa Tomomi, is no longer a threat to him. Her steely fist swiftly grazes his cheek. Her subsequent vicious blows are all evaded, and then the boy notices a cold, heavy feeling on his back. Alright. Should his calculations be correct, this fight will be as good as over the moment she makes her next move. Without ever realizing his true intention, she shoots out a left-handed slap. He lets it get as close to himself as possible, switching his backward evasion over to a sudden flight toward the left. The slap meant for the boy only runs through the air and winds up hitting the streetlight behind him. The pole is bent over as though making a light bow. The variant should have realized at that point how she possesses striking power that can wreck steel poles, and how surreal it is for the boy to be without injury despite that direct hit from her attack several minutes ago. Being incapable of becoming aware of things normal people would be aware of. That is one of the weaknesses inherent to variants of type B and under. They lack the ability to think and imagine. He aims a light kick toward the back of the knee of her pivot foot, which bears all her weight. Jesus Christ. She loses her balance and collapses. He's aware that such a basic unbalancing won't keep a variant down any longer than a breath. However, he has a move that can be executed in a time even shorter. In both hands, he's holding tiny rocks that he picked up before the beginning of this engagement. Taking a step away from her, he hurls the rocks at her head. She cannot evade them because of her fall, but just as with the knee-back kick, his goal isn't to inflict any damage. It's to hit the sore spot of her incredibly high response speed. The variants in the middle class or under don't have the sort of intelligence that would enable them to decide to sacrifice something trivial to achieve something great. Just as he predicted, the variant jerks her upper body at an unimaginable velocity and hits the hurled rocks down to the ground. And then, with all those supernatural motions, the momentum of the strike causes her to unceremoniously fall to one knee. Most assuredly, when in danger and immediate response is required, we use our dominant arm. Whether it be a human being or variant, it is an action based on biological instincts. He has, of course, learned her handedness from the briefing. Every move he's been taking so far is meant to make her completely lose her balance by making her forcefully shift her weight from a precarious position. He moves behind a defenseless woman. He needs to concentrate for about 2 seconds in order to activate a certain power of his own. The variant quickly turns around to face him and tries to do something, but it's already too late. There are no longer any ways, even by some as yet unknown ability, left for her to protect herself for what's coming. This is checkmate. Now all he has to do is place his right hand upon the woman straight in front of him. What he's going to do isn't something to be glad about at all. Considering that, he decides to content himself with the fact that he's managed to avoid excessive damage to the vessel's body, except for the joint of her right wrist. At the very moment of his last move, he stamps the target's name, Murasa Tomomi, into his mind, as he always does. He believes that it's the very least he can do for those who meet their end by his hands. And then, as if praying, he wishes that she, whose restful sleep was taken by her own unbearably strong emotions, could now truly find peace.
That's bright. Oh, that's bright.
He thrusts out his right arm. What? Oh! Okay. Good morning. Okay. Oh, it's animated as well. Holy shit. Wow, whoever made the subtitles really went all out. Oh! Can open the new series from JRPGs but not VNs? Yeah! This is good. Damn! Good morning. Opening animation by Rabbit Machine. Okay. Damn! Not bad, not bad. So that was the prologue. Though it has only been a couple of minutes since the early end of today's final lecture, half the class has already left, leaving a tinge of loneliness in the hot air of the classroom. How many of the students took it seriously when the homeroom teacher advised that this was the most crucial time of the year for them? If you take a Friday, the day after tomorrow, you get to have 8 days off in a row. Ooh! Even though this is one of the longest established high schools in this prefecture, the extended vacation seems attractive enough for most of the students to forget about all that and just go crazy. That is no surprise though. However long history the school may carry, it is nothing more than the sum of the teenage boys and girls who attended. Even with the fact that this is the spring of the second year, it's still likely that many of them will take a few extra days off for traveling. And on top of that, as if nudging them on, the weather today is absolutely perfect. You won't get days like this many times in a year. As long as they're not down in the dumps, anyone's bound to have a spring in their step. Amidst this flighty atmosphere, there's a boy who doesn't have to hurry back home. The boy named Amakawa Yu takes the handouts out of his desk and puts them into his navy bag along with a notebook used for the last class. That unwasted motion gives a glimpse into a part of his personality. While he's getting himself ready to leave the school at his usual pace, his mind is also filled with a kind of unique excitement. He neither has any club activities to join, promises with friends to keep, nor favorite pursuits to dedicate his free time to. For a boy like him, long vacations are nothing more than a pain in the neck, which he will have to get through without having anything fun to do. Oh, you poor soul. Oh, you're going to want the free time off back. But even if he's not interested in them, he still has a human mind that more or less follows the excitement around him. It is akin to feeling that you have no intention to enjoy a festival, but other participants thrill spats to you. He will probably end up spending those days doing what he usually does. That should justify letting himself join in the glee for a bit. It's not going to take even a day, but he does have one plan aside from his daily routines. And after that, if the situation permits, he might drop by a bookstore or a video rental. In any event, for that certainly, he will be spending tomorrow and the rest of the holidays almost the same way as the regular weekends. With such thoughts running through in his mind, he finally gets to his feet to leave his desk and notices that the amount of students has halved yet again. You sight. Oh, he's a pretty boy. Oh. Aha. Open the system menu. Oh, okay. Dictionary words and keywords. When advancing to so important vocabulary. Left hand where you can read more. Keywords used in reasoning mode. Okay. Woo! Okay. I paused right after walking out of the room, fascinated by how blue it is outside the windows. Man kawaya and woman kawaya. I see. Who translated this thing exactly? Who made that? If you've never read a VN before. So left click is advance the story. Actually, I'm using R2 on the PS5 controller to advance the story. Because that's my left click. I paused right after walking out of the room, fascinated by how blue it is outside the windows. Maybe this beautiful blue sky is a reward for having put up with the gloomy dampness and rain that persisted for days and only let up last night.
じーっと外を見てユーマでも見つけたの？
Unidentified object. I'm not going to open all of those things, by the way. The reasoning things we're going to see by the point in the story when we actually have to use them. And all of the other things, Question comes to me from behind. If there was a Yuma in a place full of people like this, it wouldn't be a Yuma anymore, I think.
でも目の前に。
I don't think it's very nice to treat your classmate like a chupacabra.
でもそれくらい珍しいよ。好きだらけの天川くん。
Okay, so everyone is voiced except for him, huh? I turn around and find a girl with waist-length black hair and wide eyes that make you feel like strong determination resides within them. This looks really... I can't really place it. The game has a kind of like old schoolish feeling, but not that old. It's a very interesting mix. It could be that nobody added to the backgrounds. I just think it looks funny. It looks funny though. You misunderstand, Ogawa. Other people I know tell me that I'm as careless as someone enjoying pancakes with honey and caramel syrup.
やっぱり今日も返事に隙がない。いつもと違うように見えたのが気のせいだったのかな。
She's right about a difference. I'm not in good shape today. What's behind that is what happened last night. Between one and all, it gives me 2010 vibes. Yeah, right? It's like, because the art style and the way she's shaded in is like very... You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, what's that word? Infinite Stratus. Specifically the Infinite Stratus art style for whatever reason. I've never seen Infinite Stratus, or I think that one was also based on a game. Never read it, so... The voice is product cliche again. Why don't the voice do this? Hey, I'm already glad that it's kind of voiced. I don't have to read everything myself. When did this game come out originally? Hold on. It's a game from 2014, actually. No wonder it looks like a 2010 game. Or 2010s. We're having nostalgia for 2010. It's from 2014. I see. Okay. Well. Oh, okay. Even so, I was confident that I was successfully pretending to be fine. And that you think you saw something is what's weird. I'm actually so careless that I don't mind if you call me Hanikawa or Amakana from now on. It does have some eyes. Yeah! Thank you! So it's not just me! Wait, hold on. Who's the artist for this game? Hold on. Is this mentioned here? Character design, Yukiya. Oh, okay. They're literally only listed for this specific game on VNDB, though. I do not know who the artist behind Infinite Stratus is, so... I'm looking at the Pixiv. They've done some Tales fan art. No, there's not much on the Pixiv either. No fucking clue. who the artist for this is, but hey.
じゃあパンケーキくんで。
Pancake! That has nothing to do with my actual name anymore, does it?
深い意味はないけど、私パンケーキってすっごく好きなの。
Okay, mood. I like pancakes a lot as well. Dojin into stuff like this. Resources are likely limited. The product has the most lines on average. That is true. Also, it ties in with the whole, you know, protagonist is silent, so you can imagine yourself to be the protagonist. Though in this case, not so much, because this protagonist has a set name and a set actual look. Like, we have a face for him. That is not very common. For guy protagonists in games like this, it's not very common for them to have a full face. Like, thinking back on it, even Planet, like back then, he did not have a face, and then the anime came out, and obviously they had to give him a face, and then... but like back then, for most of these games, especially the more romance-based ones, there's like, no, blank face, or like maybe a mouth, but the hair was always over the eyes, and the eyes were not drawn in. He did have a face in a few cities, yes, but like even that, very, very... Thank you so much for the resub, Boba. Good evening. Sorry, I'm a little laggy today, so I have to exaggerate everything I do in hopes of it somehow showing up. You never understood that though. I can imagine myself as a product for a fully developed personality. Oh, listen, I'm not very, very into it either, but people seem to like it enough for it to happen so frequently. I'm assuming, I don't know any statistics for it, but I'm assuming that in Japan, people like it more. But I like that they're moving on from it and just like giving us like developed people with actual faces. We talked about it a lot. It's actually one thing that really bothers me in lots of older otome games. The entirety of Starry Sky is really bad in that case. We're never gonna get Starry Sky in English. I think both... I'm sorry, I have to talk about this real quick. Both... If both... or either of them, if either of the Starry Sky games or Abusive Vampire Boyfriends... Oh my god, I always call them Abusive Vampire Boyfriends, so I can never remember the actual game name. If either of those games, I don't care which ones, get an actual English translation or an official translation, I will play them on stream. I do not give a I will. Because it's so unlikely. It is so fucking unlikely. I don't think I'm ever going to regret those words. Mark these words. At the time of 1 hour and 8 minutes on this stream, mark my words, I am going to be playing them. Thank you, Diabolic Lovers. Exactly. Because it's so unlikely. I don't think they're ever going to come out. But yeah, Starry Sky has that problem as well, like... It's one thing if they only show the heroine like from the back, but she has a sprite like on the lower left next to the text box. She has a sprite, but that sprite doesn't have eyes because her hair is just down to like her nose, but there's no actual eyes drawn in, and it's so weird. It's I always wanted to play those games. Like ever since I attempted, even back when I was like 14 years old, when I attempted to learn Japanese, I wanted to play those games, I wanted to buy those games, and I tried to learn all of these astronomical things because people are like, hey, they're pretty easy once you get going with Japanese. It's easy vocabulary except for the highly specific astrology stuff. But everything else, easy. They're just school kids. I'm like, But yeah, let's get back to this one then. You like pancakes. I like pancakes as well. Me too. My little sisters influenced me and I eat tons of them.
妹さんパンケーキが好きなんだ。
Yeah, so badly. Because of her, we have them for breakfast at home at least 2 days in a week. Whoa.
そっか、そうなんだ。
I wish I had pancakes. Are you on your way home too?
途中まで一緒に帰る？
That was a casual, predictable invite. This is kind of a stylized dialogue between the two of us who have been attending the same school since junior high, and when I'm not swamped, my answer is, even though our houses are in completely opposite directions.
だから校門までだけど。
That's how the rest of the talk goes.
天川くんはゴールデンウィークって何か用事あるの？
No fixed plans, but I've got some little things to do.
その言い方だとどこかに旅行ってわけじゃないんだ。
I'm not. I'll be staying at home like any other weekend unless I have things to do outside. I think I might get called in for my part-time job thing though.
春休みに入る前も同じようなこと言ってたよね。
My job doesn't care about time. Or more like, I can tell them I'm certainly going to have to do some work. For the past few years, I haven't made it through any holiday weeks without hearing the Call of Duty.
連休ならアルバイ
The
ト
Call of
で
Duty?
休みたがる人もいるだろうしね。
The Call of Duty? Which Call of Duty released in 2014? And a certain young man with some skills and nothing to do will wind up super busy. I wish I could divide arms like an octopus for efficiency.
春休みはイカって言ってなかった？
Infinite Warfare thing, why do you know that? I was joking. Living in the ocean cold reality has been so cruel that I've lost 2 of them.
そっか。怖いね、大海原。
It was advanced warfare. Infinite warfare. Infinite Stratus. And Call of Duty. Collab. By the time summer vacation comes, I might have even less.
ハマチくらい？
I don't know what a yellowtail's. Okay, what the what is a yellowtail? Grows and varies a bit when it's young. It's fresh sashimi makes such a terrifying delicious side dish with white rice. This is simply the writer's personal view. Yeah. Infinite Warfare was 2016. We're all hardcore COD gamers here, aren't we? Had the pew pew smash. Okay. I don't think I've ever played a Call of Duty. But next to now. Thank you. Yellowtail's a fish. It's got no arms or legs. What about you, Gava? What are you doing on the holidays?
こっちはいつもと同じで暇暇だよ。想像しただけでカバーじゃなかった。ゾーッとするくらい。
It gets you ga. I'm gonna become an FPS streamer now. Yeah. Because this fucking visual novel is killing my frame rate. I'm definitely gonna become a pro FPS gamer. High COT power level. She moans tiredly enough to convince me she honestly means it. I guess she feels the same about Golden Week as I do.
むしろ学校があってくれた方がいいなって思うもん。
Pray to God, amen. I just did the cross sign the wrong way around, I think. Oopsie. What? You would rather come to school? That statement would set all other students in the whole country against you.
全国のみんなも納得してくれる暇さだよ。引っ張りだこの天川くんに分けてあげたいくらいだよ。
Why are you blushing? Right, it'd be so convenient if you could share time like that.
頑張ればなんとか分けられないかな。
Oh. How?
愛の力？
Oh! I don't think even love can make it happen.
もし分けれたら天川くんには1時間500円くらいで売ってあ
There's
げるね。
actually a book that's like I sold my I sold my life for 10,000 yen a year, which is I think a light novel because it also got a manga adaptation and I've read the manga and it wasn't the best, but it was an interesting read. Who's your voice actress, madam? Ueda Saiko. Who is literally only credited for this one game? You've not done anything else? Really? Ueda Saiko. No, she's done background characters in very few series. Okay, damn. She has a nice voice though. 10,000 yen, that's nothing. Yeah, it's like he sells his life and they're like, oh yeah, you can sell it and we'll give you however much money you would have made until the rest of your life, and he only gets the 10,000 because he would never have amounted to anything in his life or something. It's a pretty depressing read, not gonna lie. You take money for it? Besides, that's pretty cheap.
天川くん用の特別価格だよ。他の人なら1時間につき5億円はもらうから。
That's why I figured that. Yeah. Isn't that way beyond a discount? Now I'm even feeling sorry for the special treatment.
そんな特別扱いの天川くんとしては、もしも私から時間が買えるならどれくらい買うつもり？
That sure is an awesome offer, but I'm broke all the time.
そうなの？
You bet. Maybe I'd better wait until the price drops a bit more.
そっか。じゃあ私の方でも企業努力してみるよ。
I try to work a little harder during the holidays too. To be honest though, if she really is fine with that pricing, I have enough money saved up to afford the rest of her entire life. Yo!
あ、借りてた CD はあさって持ってくるね。
How many hours will you take? Yes! If it means I get to spend the rest of my life with you. Okay. I shivered saying that myself.
本当は今日持ってくるつもりだったんだけど、うっかりしてて。
Sure, no rush.
でもあんまり素敵だったから自分でダウンロードして買っちゃった。
Woo! She taps her back twice. Her favorite digital music player must be in there. Really? Wow, I'm glad I recommended it to you. I have the same type of player as her, just in different color, but what really surprised me was that the same goes for the headphones we use too. I understand it's just a coincidence, but since the headphones are kind of special products, the fact that someone close to me uses them pleases me. Can you also bring the DVD you mentioned before when you return the CD? I'd like to borrow it. Okay, I want to know what DVD. A B movie titled The Gouda Cheese, The Smell of Suspicion. A comedy mystery movie where a poor undergraduate and a self-proclaimed charismatic cattle farmer challenge many mysteries together. The original novel series Cheese Series has 6 titles including the above one, and a portion of its readers are rabbit fans. Its latest title is the Elegiac Mozzarella? What the fuck? Kind of Red Bulls add caffeine pills to it. I want to see the face of God and call them cringe. I would not recommend you do that. But I would be willing to take a can of Coke off your hands. I could need it. Digital music players. What kind of stone age is this? It's 2014. What do you expect?
わかった。持ってくるね。
Does it have the same pattern? An incident occurs in the beginning of the story and the criminal is gradually driven into a corner as it progresses.
でも今回は動機じゃなくて犯行方法を解くのが目的かな。
Where's my Blu-ray? Who's a Blu-ray? Why is he in every single movie?
山奥の農場。
He must be good. The premise sounds very original.
登場人物も癖が強い感じだから前作よりは人は選ぶかも。
But you found it amusing, right?
面白いっていうか好みっていうか。
I think I feel the same then. Based on my past experience, she and I share similar tastes in a bunch of things. As long as she likes it, at the very least it won't be way out of my range either.
なんかそれってプレッシャーかも。
After these random chats, we find ourselves past the gate. Though I feel like talking more, we need to end the fun here. I don't have to feel anything special about it. We'll get to do this again on Friday and over after Golden Week as well. Pondering what to say as parting words, I turn to her and find her eyes holding a look that's a little more serious than usual.
あのさ、一応聞くけど、一本くらいタコさんの足は甘くない？
That question explains her serious expression. Sorry, but it's not very likely. The unusual look on her face delays my answer a little.
そっか。でもさ、
Yeah?
もしもね、途中で会えたらでいいからさ、少しだけでも連休中に会えないかなって。
I like that I gave her a bunch of different sprites. It's a lot of work. Usually I would play dumb and give a roundabout no in answer. We have had this sort of talk before, and she must know what I'm going to say. But hey, why would I have to say the same thing all the time? I've been pretending to have returned to my everyday life, but in truth, I've just been concerned about my hand from last night. It can't hurt to be slightly grateful to her for consoling me. I decided to say something different. Sure, if my plans change, I'd be happy to. I think I'm allowed to offer that at least. What's wrong? You look taken aback.
なんでもないよ。また金曜日にね。
Yeah, see you then. Maybe I shouldn't have, but whatever. Given the situation that I'm in and not having been mindful enough of her, that might not have been the most appropriate response. Even so, I don't regret it. Oh! She's very pretty. Perhaps because her parting smile was as bright as today's blue sky.
Ah.
Ooh! The destination selection screen. Oh god. Yeah, advances the main scenario with no marker will show you a sub-scenario. Aha. Okay, so we're always going to be... I see no street. So we're always going to be looking at sub-scenarios and then the main one. How do I... Oh, I actually have to click this way. Noodle Graveyard, a ramen shop located in a rundown street. Its original name is Ramen Shop So Yummy, but what they serve is so horrible that people prefer to use the miserable nickname instead. I was about to say, who calls their own restaurant a graveyard? What's happening? A glimpse of the shopping district filled with washed out shop signs, no doubt reminds of good old traditional Tokyo towns or the human kindness that could be found in those towns. If there were all there was to it, it would be rather easy to lavish praise on the place. What makes it difficult is that it lacks one of the most essential elements: people. No shoppers who come and go, no store staffers attracting foot traffic. It's far too quiet for a shopping district. You could argue that it's bizarre given that it's early in the evening on a weekday and this area is just 10 minutes away from the station. Regulars and nearby residents ironically call this place the cave because of its dimness. It's desolate all the time, yet never runs out of people either. What a mystery it holds. Even locals aren't drawn by this 200-meter-ish street due to its unusual lineup of shops. There are no regular grocery stores to be found, nor anything offering entertainment that's in popular demand, such as CD stores, bookstores, or game shops. The only stores here are ones that would make maniacs with less than unusual pursuits rejoice. For instance, here we have a shop of model-heavy machinery, or one that sells supplies for slugs. Just who uses those? Thanks to the absence of any generally popular shops, the whole street looks as if out of business even when the stores are open. Then why doesn't it completely lose its visitors? That's just because there's a demand for it, but that only applies to the other face of the street. A particular section of the cave street has an extremely special meaning to certain individuals. Ramen with an H! Ramen! You know? Because that's definitely how it's written. And what rules it is this extremely suspicious ramen shop located midway along the street. Instead of replica food models of what they serve, the front of the shop is occupied by an unexplainable parabolic antenna. It's hard to imagine the shop's appearance would lead anyone into thinking they can enjoy a treat here. Because of the shop owner's uncorrectable flaw, those who know the shop well address it with a disgraceful nickname. Only two types of people visit here, those with a weird sense of taste and those who know the other face of this place. Since Amakawa-Yu's sense of taste is fairly average, he belongs among the latter. Aha! An indescribable smell permeates the air in front of the entrance. Even though I've smelled it a million times, I'm still not used to it at all, but I have things to do in here. I steel myself to enter and put my hand on the stubborn sliding door.
いらっしゃい。
いらっしゃい。
Hello.
おう、久しぶり。ってほどじゃねえな。
I guess not. Fortunately, there's not a single customer in here. The list of victims shouldn't grow needlessly. Pops, I know I always ask this, but just how can you possibly create this funny smell?
へへ、そいつは企業秘密ってもんだぜ。
Hold on a second. What's that happy face for? But yeah, it might be best to keep it a secret. Some company may ask for it to produce a crime prevention device or something.
で、どうした？今日はラーメンでも食べに来たのかい？
No. Not in a million years. The cuisine of this middle-aged man who looks like a cook consists of complete pieces of weaponry. They are, so to speak, gustatory bombs. Each time I tell someone about this, they get the wrong idea, that his cooking is so delicious it blows your mind. When I say bomb, I literally mean a weapon that destroys your sense of taste.
あれおかしくねあははって部分おかしくね
Sorry, but not being honest would only hurt me. Especially my tongue would be fatally harmed.
おいおいそれは言い過ぎだろうぜジュニア
Junior!
I'm just telling the truth based on past experience. Actually, I tried to mince my words as much as I could. There's no way I'd forget that just half a year ago, all the samplers of his new self-approved dish had to experience a miracle where they couldn't taste any sweetness for the next 24 hours. Plus, I was one of those victims.
まあそれはあれだ偶然ジュニアの口に合わなかっただけだろうぜ
I heard Dean had trouble with his ear canals for about 3 days after he ate it.
まあそれはあれだ偶然鈴なりの三半規管に合わなかっただけだろうぜ
Would you kindly explain how one could cook something that drives ear canals insane?
そんなことよりもジュニアよ何か用事があって顔出したんだろうその話をしようじゃねえの
A forceful change of subject.
で自慢のラーメンが目的じゃないとすれば一体何用なのよってまあ一つしかねえわな
Yes, I'm here to report on last night. The Type B target was wiped out and the female vessel has been taken under protection.
ご苦労さんこっちでも確認済みだぜ
Although he replies as though it was not a big deal, knowing him, he must have seized details within a couple minutes after the end of the engagement. Despite the appearance of a disfavored ramen shop, in here all sorts of information is, quicker than anywhere else, scattered not only from the inside of the city, but from the entire prefecture. Information both good and bad. This man plays the role of the antenna that receives and deals with that enormous amount of information, and that is the other face of the one who runs this failed ramen shop.
ちなみにこれは依頼とは関係ない補足の部分だが北村からの連絡で器になった
Wait, hold on. Do we know? Do we get to know who she is? Ah, okay. Interesting. Okay.
気がかりは解消されたかい
It does. I thought she'd be fine when I fought her, but still. I'm relieved that the girl who was accidentally dragged into that misfortune will soon be able to return to her everyday life. Once the department in charge of dealing with the aftermath gets the part done, this case will be fully closed.
で対象の遺品は調査に回しても
Do you suspect one of them is turned into material variant?
可能性はゼロじゃないだろうなオツシュだが成り立ちが個性的だ
I have one thing to say about the game that is unfortunate. You cannot turn down just the sound and turn up the voices.
祖母とのゆかりの品とかならば相当に思い入れを持ってたんじゃねえか
I have one condition.
Huh?
I think back on her journal entries I went through yesterday. What was written in there regarding those invaluable days she and her grandmother spent together? We have her diaries.
ファイルにコピーで添付されていたあれか
That's right. Whether they're material variants or not, could you dispose of the original books and any copies so that no one can touch them?
理由は
No particular reason. I just want it to be that way. Since material variants with enormous powers are extremely rare, their value is immense. I'm well aware of how inconceivable it is to request discarding items like that without any good reason, especially if there's no apparent risk involved, but I still insist.
なるほどね今日顔を出した一番の理由は
Yeah, because I have a feeling we can barely hear this guy over the jazzy music here.
道場か
I understand it's unreasonable, but please. Pops falls into deep thought. That's a natural reaction considering his position as the head of those in charge of this area. To be more accurate, he's obligated to collect objects like that.
彼女の遺体は祖母と同じ墓に入れるそうだが日記は処置をした後でその近くの土にでも埋めておくように伝えておく
Thank you, I appreciate it.
引用化した人間の所有物については担当者の意向が最優先されるそれに2 人でのんびり暮らしたいって思いの詰まった日記なんだ。争いごとに向いた力は発現しねえだろうさ。
Yes, I believe that too.
他の持ち物については通常通りに対処するぜ。
Understood.
で、他に担当に伝えることはあるかい？
No, there isn't.
そうか。
I gave my report and said everything I wanted to say. With that, I'm completely off the case now. The rest is going to be taken care of in the best way possible by those much more experienced than myself.
しかしジュニアよ。
What is it?
何度も言うけどよ。経過中の報告ならまだしも完遂したものであればこっちでも確認してるんだ。わざわざ顔出して報告しなくてもいいんだぜ。
I don't feel like I'm finished without doing that.
それにしたって怪我してようが即日報告してくるなんてのはジュニアくらいのもんだぜ。
Well, I'm the protagonist. I finish things up as quickly as I can, that's my policy.
夏休みの宿題は最初の1週間で終わらせるタイプってことかね。
Actually, I get it done in the first 3 days of the vacation every year, but I keep my mouth shut about that. He'd make fun of me for sure. It's a good idea to get stuff like that done immediately though, because then you have more free time. I've just got lots of time to spare.
お前のそういう謙虚さ、鈴なりあたりには少し見習ってほしいもんだね。
But he's got a day job.
仕事っつっても趣味あいつが自分で言ってたぜ。細工仕事は栗と2人の時間を過ごすための道具に過ぎない。
That does sound like something he'd say.
まあ、あいつらはあれだしな。
Like they do to make tools that heat romantic relationships?
そっくりそのまま言ってたよ。
That's nice. I'm bitten I can picture him saying that while running one hand through his hair. That just proves how outstandingly unique of an individual he is.
あいつはあれがなきゃなかなかの男だと思うんだがな。
That's what makes him who he is, if you ask me.
へジュニアは俺よりもあいつと接する機会が少ないから。
I mean, I don't even know the guy you're talking about yet. Honestly, if I had to hear his lovey-dovey talks every single day, I'd probably end up trying to avoid him. Time slowly passes by in this unoccupied ramen shop. It could be a huge matter of concern to any shop owner, but I actually like this kind of composed atmosphere. Even if it's just for a short while, I'm fond of chit-chatting in this laid back. Wait. Anyway, the air surrounding me here is so relaxing that I don't even care about this bad smell. Huh? Is this just my imagination? I feel like that funny smell is growing stronger than when I came in here. No, it's not my imagination.
さて、ジュニアの用事は終わったわけだよな。
Before I realized it, there was a huge soup pot on the stove with fire turned on. The sound of the stove blazing echoes inside the shop as if the dead in hell were mourning in chorus.
で、この後の予定は？
Get home, go on patrol, and work out.
ほう、つまり
I do not want to eat your hell ramen. Yeah?
それじゃあよ、今日は特別におごりにしといてやるから。
No, I don't want
家
it.
に帰る前に一杯食べてきな。
I don't want your hell ramen. Mm-mm. What in the world is perfect about that? I have personal experience of just how dangerous accepting that offer can be. I'll pay you 30,000 yen, so please let me go. If you need more, I'll dash to the ATM right away. I tried to bolster my rejection by laying bare all I've got in my wallet. I'm pretty sure that if you had to choose between a months-long untreatable illness or giving away your meager allowance, most people would pick the latter.
さてはジュニアよ、そんなに嫌がるってことは前回食べたものと同じレベルだと思ってるんだろう。
Good evening. How was the birthday dinner?
はっきり言って前回とは別次元だぜ。
Uh-oh. Does that mean it'll kill me?
ああ、死ぬほどうまいかもしれん。何せゾリゾリ麺にねっとりしたスープが絡む自慢の一品だからな。
Bristly is not an adjective to describe noodles.
じゃあコリコリ麺にぐっしょりスープでどうだ？
Talk about the bowels of hell. No, all you did was swap some adjectives. What's worse, now it sounds like sexual harassment. Anyhow, I will definitely not eat what you make, no matter how much you beg. Never, even if I have to glue my lips together.
なあ、ジュニアよ。参考までに聞かせてくれ。うちの料理は
First cake, then you bought a girl some tasty meat.
Ooh, nice.
See, he seems to have understood how desperate I am. Pop steals his face to carefully listen to my words. Apparently my life has been spared. Well, how should I put it? It's sort of hard to say this, but...
どんなに厳しい言葉でも構わねえ。ぜひとも教えてくれ。可能ならすぐに改善するからよ。
He leans over, ready to hear out whatever I have to say. His passion for cooking is painfully obvious. I sincerely respect his diligence. But considering that his dishes sent more than 50% of diners into the hospital, what's so bad about my cooking really isn't what he should be asking. To start with, the ultimate problem is that he never realizes his cooking skills are too awful to be improved by someone's advice. But even so, I'd rather not use harsh words and hurt this man who's been taking good care of me in non-food related matters. I better be careful about my choice of words. After I eat your ramen, I try to imagine the feelings of those who grew the ingredients used for the soup and of the noodles in the soup. And then tears begin to roll down my cheeks. In fact, instead of tears, the distastefulness of his food deserves a lawsuit and a guilty verdict.
確かに俺は食材に感謝しながら調理しているからね。それが食べる人にも伝わっちまうってことかよ。
Wow, you have a very positive outlook on life. You're putting a pretty optimistic spin on this.
他にどう受け取れって言うんだい。
Does this count as cafe? We didn't have one for a while. It's a ramen shop.
Maybe.
I was trying to get you to sympathize with my sense of chagrin. Imagine myself into the position of each of the ingredients. All that pops up in my mind is a sorrow.
ははつまりジュニアは俺の腕についてこれない食材の気持ちになってるわけだな。
No. If you sent this many customers into hospital, how did you not get sued into oblivion? Yeah.
もっと僕たちがいい素材だったらこのコックさんの足を引っ張ることもないのにってか。
No. Holy. You've gone way beyond being optimistic. This conversation has now transcended into a twisted space-time. In what way am I able to get him to understand this? Should I not have had any mercy for him? Looking far ahead, I understand that I better go out on a limb and continue until he gets a little more reasonable idea. However, if I remain here any longer, my body and mind will suffer irreparable harm. I reluctantly decide to take my leave. Anyway, I'll pass. I'm not hungry right now. I can tell that he'll definitely offer me something to eat again next time I come here, but I decide to postpone figuring out the countermeasures against it until then. Okay. Woo! So this is a sub-story. Each room is designed for 1 or 2 people to live in. She however resides in room 301 on her own for family reasons. Okay, well, her apartment first then. Yes. Ooh, Chiharu site. Feeling the TV remote in my hand, I've been deep in a musing mood on the soft sofa. Why in the world does Golden Week even exist? Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays are already a big pain in the neck for me. This annual long vacation is even worse. If every day were a weekday, I'd get to go to school every day. It's not like I have a thing for going to school. Actually, considering that I avoid crowds, it should be a place I'd rather stay away from. Then why do I wish I could go to school every single day? Because it's the only place where I can see a certain someone. Actually, if there were some other place where I could do the same, I wouldn't hesitate for a second to leave school right away. I look up to see the clock say it's nearly 6 p.m. Since I got home and dove into the sofa, it's been an hour and a half. My school uniform must have plenty of wrinkles by now. I know I should change, but... I don't have any motivation to do anything right now. I'm too happy. This is all his fault. Sure, if my plans change, I'd be happy to. I know no one except for me would recognize that as anything special. But since I've been looking at him longer than anyone else, I'm able to realize how much it really is worth. In terms of relationships with others, the one I'm in love with appears to have a line set over which he doesn't let anyone cross, at least at school. I haven't an idea why he's like that, and I highly doubt I've misunderstood. Due to knowing about that line, I've been insistently struggling to cross it. I've lost count of how many times I've failed, but I've never given up. What happened back at the school gate was another attempt. Since last night, I'd done simulations over and over again, and every one of those, my attempt ended in failure, and the same should have happened in real life as well. I had braced myself for his refusal, By asking him for something that can't be done, I was expecting a twinge of pain and yet some glee over the fact I got to talk to him. The short walk I took with him after school was going to be the routine I went through countless times. However, the very last few seconds were nowhere near anything in the past. She's voiced completely, but the guy is not, despite us being able to change between the two points of view. Interesting. I sigh again. Unlike sighs that drain your strength away from you, the ones I let out give me a warm, floaty feeling. Boy, why no school tomorrow? What a living hell it is that I have to spend a day off alone with this feeling. This is exactly like when a funny movie you're watching is about to come to its climax, but the next thing you see is an announcement of its sequel. I feel like I'm stuck in limbo. But then again, without Golden Week, he wouldn't have said that to begin with. I know I'm being contradictory, but since it comes from the heart, there's nothing I can do about it. I suppress the grin that tries to cover my face when I let my mind drift. The long vacation is almost here, but it's lucky that I get to see him in 2 days. On the other hand, that's the only day before the break that I have a chance to talk to him, but now's not the time to worry about that. I've promised I will make it easier to begin a conversation with him. I watched the DVD only because I assumed he would probably like it, but that effort really paid off. As always, I'm going to talk with him for as long as possible while making sure I'm not pestering him or coming across as too forceful. Now that I've set my next goal, I think I'll formulate my strategy for that day while cooking dinner. I was supposed to stop by a supermarket to buy some food for today. Oh well, I guess I go eat out tonight. It's probably been a month since the last time. I don't really like eating out, but today I don't mind. I'm pretty sure that whatever I eat, I'll be too happy to care about how it tastes. You don't like it? Oh, I like to go out to eat. A wooden Japanese bungalow standing near the center of the residential area where plenty of old mansions can be found. The main house and a detached building sit on the relatively large land. You uses one of the rooms in a detached building. Oh, you a rich boy! Are you a rich boy, my dude? After finishing a slightly early dinner, I get myself ready to go on my daily patrol through my district. I also have the option to take a day off to rest and recover from the fatigue and damage of last night's fight, but that can put me at a greater risk in the long run. Any illness should be discovered and dealt with sooner rather than later. Most importantly, I skipped yesterday's patrol because I was completely dedicated to the case. You can't just ask someone if they're rich. Well, why not? Why can I not ask someone if they're rich? If I skip again, then it will be 2 days in a row. I should avoid letting that happen. It's rude? What? Why? Alright. Giving a jolt to my exhausted body, I put on an outdoor jacket and head out. Walking out the entrance, I'm welcomed by the surprisingly chilly outside air. One of my main purposes for patrolling is to help my stomach digest what I eat at dinner. The variants, especially those which require immediate action, spread a distinctly strange atmosphere around them. The strangeness is so apparent that even I, with my weak senses, can detect it. Because of that, I don't need to be as alert as a police officer on lookout for prowlers. I have at least enough room to admire the surrounding view. In the western sky, the sunset is merging with the night, as if in the middle of 2 paints being blended on a palette. Looking at the color of the faint orange that the sun leaves behind as its last vestige, I descend a gentle slope extending to the station. I walk past all kinds of people on my way. A middle-aged businessman in a worn-out suit, a pair of bubbly high school girls chattering away, a little boy riding his bike up the slope. Figures that can be seen in this town every day. For them, no day is ever the same. But when it comes to the city itself, there's a certain thing that doesn't change. It's that most of the residents get to finish off the day at peace and start the new morning as though for granted. How much people think about stuff in some visual novels much more detailed than I ever do. I mean, on the other hand, it would feel very... Maybe it would feel weird if stuff moves by too quickly without us having a look at their thoughts, and if it's just like 2 things all the time. Just like, oh, I'm gonna go home and sleep. Boom, day over. So they have to make it like, this and this and this and this. I like to watch boring scenery of this kind. That's a very nice sky though. That's not boring. Even if plenty of the individuals in it are bearing misfortune on their shoulders, it makes my day if doing what I'm supposed to do helps sustain their boringness. In fact, I believe that I'm doing enough work to feel proud of myself without putting on airs. I'm not trying to show myself off as some kind of ally of justice. Actually, I have an ulterior motive. And that is... When I walk past a lady with long black hair at the bottom of the slope, I recall a certain other girl who's my untouchable symbol of everyday life. I remind myself of her running off under the blue sky. Thanks to her, I've been able to spend the day with this exhilarating feeling that I haven't had for a long time. I feel it's okay for me to make a wish for her. May she be spending this very time of the day in calm and peace. Okay. Ooh, question mark side. One summer day, a plain hospital room with beige walls. 3 years have been long enough to engrave the surrounding view into the girl's memory. No matter the hour or season, regardless of the weather, the scenery never changes for her. The only people who come into this room are the girl's parents, grandmother, and hospital staff. Despite signs of rain, today she's able to walk around without her body suffering. Usually on rainy days, she feels a sickening sense of oppression she has to put up with. When she's in good shape, going shopping in a hospital shop on the first floor is her favorite thing to do. She's given a 300 yen allowance for each visit, and that is her only chance to choose what she wants of her own will. For her, these brief opportunities to free herself from her day-to-day boredom are far more valuable than that small amount of money. What's even better is that today she has 1,000 yen as a reward for making it through the medical examinations that took up her entire day yesterday. She was too impatient to wait for her grandmother, the sitter, to come back from the ladies' room and ask for permission to go ahead and take the elevator down to the first floor. She's so eager that the elevator's descent seems to take an eternity. The elevator, indifferent to her impatience, rings a bell and opens its doors when it finally arrives on a designated floor. She takes off running, but unfortunately, she bumps into someone and falls down on her bottom. Ow. The opposite person seems to have taken a big tumble. She raises her face and finds a boy whose right arm and leg are plastered in light blue casts. There was no way that he could have kept his balance in a state like that. Feeling guilty about running into him so carelessly, she quickly reaches the decision to apologize to him. However, due to her lack of experience communicating with other people, in her panic to check if he's okay, she forgets to even get to her feet. Are you okay? Does it hurt anywhere? For a moment, she can't understand the words directed to her. She was the one who had started running recklessly, pushing over this injured boy. And yet, the boy, seemingly around the same age as her, just asks if she herself was fine. As she's worriedly staring at his face in silence, he grows too embarrassed and gives her a bashful smile. Is there something funny on my face? He asks her. That is the instant she made friends with someone her own age for the first time in her entire life. Aha! Okay. Ooh. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. The blaring ringtone throws my concentration off. After finishing my late breakfast, I've been reading the novel that I bought yesterday. Apparently it's already been an hour. The phone screen displays the number and the name of the detective that I've known for years. The fact that a high schooler has been acquainted with a detective for that long may sound like there's something rough between them, but of course he's not calling my student self. Assuring myself that I have no idea why he's calling, I press the answer button. Hello? An unusual way to start a phone conversation. When you call someone on the mobile, you should already know their identity. It implies that what he has to say will be something nobody else should know. Yes, Amakawa speaking. You need my help for your work? Is it urgent? But it's not something irrelevant either, right? I had another engagement booked for a little before noon, but I should probably give this priority. I feel bad having to back out since we've been planning it for a while, but I'm sure they'll understand when I explain. You got it. I'll be right over. Actually, I owe you one from the end of last year. Time and place? No problem. Got it. He hangs up so quick. This is kind of funny though. It was just a joke, but one of my octopus arms is already reserved. If this keeps up, I can easily foresee that none of them will be left for Okawa during the break. Wait, what am I thinking? From the beginning, there was no chance I'd be able to make any time for her. Feeling stupid for being conflicted, I pick up the book from the floor to put in a bookmark and snap it closed. Oh my god. Shopping district on the south side of Morizuka Station is slightly large for a shopping district. You can find not only basic foods and daily essentials, but ornaments and various kinds of tea and cigarettes here. Okay. Or you can switch over to her side. Ever since yesterday, footage with quality so high it could be digitally recorded has been on auto-repeat in my head, continuing even now as I wait for the traffic light to change. And in my mind, my own acceleration has been generating the sound of fireworks. Sure, if my plans change, I'd be happy to. Please, please don't tell me her entire character is going to be, oh, he wants to go out with me one day, maybe. Please, I'm going to scream if that's the case. Each time I remember that line, my heart beats faster. Last night, I'd say it almost 100 times in between when I got into bed and when I fell asleep. And as that sleepless night went by, the radio started to play a tune that Amakawa might like. I quickly decided that I'd need to search online to get details on it, but before I knew it, I tapped a series of Amakawa U in the search bar. In order to cool down my mental overheating, I've bothered to come all the way downtown, but it doesn't seem to be helping at all. I've already given up on holding back the smirks that keep appearing unbidden on my face. I really need to at least buy the CD before going home, otherwise this outing will have been totally pointless. Chemical seasoning. Beautiful pig! Okay, beautiful pig. A silly sound brings me back into reality, and I notice the traffic light is now green. I set off on foot slightly behind the other pedestrians. Even though it's the first day of vacation, this area doesn't seem any more crowded than usual. Maybe this public holiday lasting so long makes lots of people want to travel. Works for me. Since I'm not a big fan of crowds, I can walk around more light-footedly like this. What's that in the bag? That looks fun. As I look about at random stuff, my eyes catch on the sign at the entrance of an independent theater. Couples Thursday, only 2,000 yen for couples. The part that draws my attention is the word couples, not the discounted price. I can't believe I get so caught up on these little things. It's all because of that wonderful phrase Amakawa gave me. I can never get rid of my expectations and feelings that something could happen between him and me, no matter how hard I try to. I might be able to spend the vacation with him. To my knowledge, he appears to avoid crowds as much as I do, or maybe even more. And that's why seeing a movie hasn't been an option for the two of us. Most people would think of those cinema complexes near the station when they want to see the movies. I'm sure he wouldn't want to go there. But what would he think about this small theater? I feel like the chance of success is pretty low, but it's not zero. Yeah, this should be worth considering. When it comes to him and chances are not zero, I don't care how mentally demanding and time-consuming it is. The same logic applies to the CD. I doubt just one single CD is going to largely change anything. But it could be a good conversation opener, and that's the only reason I've shown up down here. Macadamia nuts! On sale. Music shop metal tape. Someone calls out to me as I'm about to enter the shop. That's my destination.
すいません、ちょっといいですか?
No. I turn my eyes to the owner of the voice and find a boy standing there.
何か用かな?
聞きたいことがあるんですけど。
The boy has a spirited face and a short hairstyle accompanies it perfectly. I guess he's in his last year of elementary school or maybe first year of junior high.
何を聞きたいの?
この辺りで俺くらいの身長で髪の毛をこうやって2箇所で縛ってる女の子って見ませんでした?
Oh, no, I don't think so. He puts his hands on his head, mimicking the girl's tight
お
hair.
さげの女の子?
はい、一緒に遊びに来て気づいたらそばにいなくて。
I grasp the situation now. He's spoken to me to see if I know anything about his companion. Since the boy's wearing a very serious look on his face, he must have gotten lost.
どうですか?
A girl with twin tails. I might have seen someone like that, but I can't remember where. To begin with, it's highly improbable that someone who just arrived in downtown like me encountered her. I suddenly have a flashback of two swinging pigtails. And that was when I...
もしかして見かけました?
多分だけど映画館のそばで見た気がする。
映画館ってそこをまっすぐ行ったところのですよね。
そう、その映画館から少し離れた場所にいたと思う。
I can't say for sure because I was busy thinking about stuff, especially
他
Amakawa.
に特徴を教えてもらえればもうちょっときちんと判断できるかも。
いえ、映画館のあたりにいたなら多分間違いないです。
He now appears to be extremely restless, as though telling me to let him go so he can get to her as quickly as possible. He seems to be assured by my input of the movie theater.
教えてくれてありがとうございます。
どういたしまして。
突然すいませんでした。
Yo, good! With a small bow, he dashes off. He immediately turns into a small dot, which proves how desperate he is to find
デ
her.
ートの途中ではぐれたとか。
Children like him are too young to really date, but the way he was struggling for his girlfriend gives me an idea. I imagine the two of them walking down the street alongside each other. Maybe they're... Okay. Yeah, that seems right. Him talking to her in that mature way he did earlier and her answering yes with a nod. While having fun with that silly little mental exercise of mine and feeling a sense of envy, I turn around to face the shop's entrance again. This girl only has love on her head, I guess. On her mind, in her head, whatever. A square located in between office buildings, it is a place of relief for nearby office workers looking to spend their recess and lunchtime. Okay. What am I doing there? Ah, okay. Usual spot. In solidarity with the surrounding office buildings and the work people in them, this public space also seems to be on vacation. Normally the space is abundant with suits, but today there are few people around and time is passing by leisurely. I recognize a person puffing a cigar on a backless bench, gazing up at the sky. He's likely to be mistaken for one of the businessmen working nearby due to his outfit and the spaced out look on his face. But if you observe it close enough, you'll see that impression is wrong. He has this particular aura of always being on guard. I don't think this will count as evidence, but he can't notice me approaching even though I happen to come down from behind him. Oh, hello! I'm feeling unbelievably blah. His voice sounds languid yet familiar.
ファミレスで注文したメニューを30分待った挙句、店員に確認したら、やば、忘れてた、てへ。
Tehe.
顔された時ぐらいだるい。
That sounds blah indeed.
こうして直接会うのは正月以来。
That's about right.
どうだい少年、儲かってるか。
Is that sarcasm?
半分はな。残りはお互い因果な商売だっていう慰めだ。葬儀屋と警察。
Oh wow!
山川さんちは暇なほどいいってことさ。
He looks dead inside. He shrugs his shoulders as though joking and shoots me a gaze suggesting I should sit. I couldn't tell from behind, but I now notice he looks somewhat more haggard than usual. You're looking pale, Azuma. Okay, hold on. What do we know about you? Full name is Azuma Toichiro. He's an assistant inspector of the 1st Division of the Criminal Investigation Department. He once worked with the Yamakawas for a case and they have had trust in each other ever since. He's one of the police who are allowed to cooperate with the organization to which you belongs. But you're an actual police officer, huh? Those are some extreme eye bags.
かもな。ついさっきまで特殊な仏の資料を見ててね。聞きたいか？
I'll pass.
俺警察辞めようかと思ったからな。いや、それは常に思ってるんだが。
That bad?
ああ、一瞬一瞬が月曜病みたいなもんだ。
No, I meant the dead body, not your will of resignation.
ああ、そっちな。正直、今でも朝食べたホイコーローが俺というラビリンスから脱出しそうなくらいだ。
Ew. What a crazy cuisine you picked for breakfast.
徹夜明けで体力回復にと思ったんだが、結局内臓に負担をかけただけさ。皮肉なもんだよ。
Eating something that crazy when you didn't even sleep the entire night? The joke isn't funny. Knock the smug face off, would you? Plus, can we start on our topic for today before your jokes wear me out?
前処はするよ。前処だけはね。
He holds a hand over his mouth, really seeming quite unwell.
でだ。
Dude!
本題に入らせてもらうが。
Let's get down to business, not take off your clothes in public, hello? While still wearing a worn-out expression, his eyes are now as sharp as those of a cop.
証拠があるわけじゃないから、少年たちに関係あると確信があっての話じゃないんだが。
That's unusually roundabout for you.
それだけややこしい事態なんだと認識してほしい。
I'm so sorry, I have something in my throat.
すでに把握しているかもしれないが、今年に入ってから この辺りで起こる犯罪の件数が異常に増加しているのは知ってるかい？
No. I shake my head in denial. How unusual is it?
4月末の現段階で去年の半年分をやや超えるくらいの件数だ。
Damn! Only 4 months to surpass half of last year's number, huh?
単純に計算すれば 1.5 倍のペースってことだな。
Half as many again. Actually, it doesn't say much to someone non-professional like myself.
君が素人とは面白い冗談だ。
I'm a total amateur when it comes to regular crime.
まあそういうことにしておこう。簡潔に言うと事件の数が 1,2 割増加したとすれば多くの市民が
And it's
最
half
近
as
で
many?
そうだなぁと実感する。
Oh, that is fucked up. So if it's increased by half,
相当な数字だ。
is there any chance of accidental error?
統計学の専門家ってわけじゃないから断言はできないが。
Is it a stretch to consider they could be imaginary or coincidental?
俺なんて怖くて休日は一歩も出歩きたくないくらいさ。
I think you're play acting a hard-boiled cop.
見せかけデカの個人的意見じゃなく長年この町一筋なベテランの先輩に言わせても異常な事態なんだよ。
Oh, thank you for the posture check and the high return.
Ooh! Good one. If that's the case, there has to be rumors going around in town, right? More like, I'd say it's weird if there aren't any, but I haven't heard anything so far. The noises that happen when you do a posture check are concerning. I don't know what you mean.
そういうのに敏感な輩の間ではもうなってるぞ。
Which means that those in charge on my side must have seized some intelligence on it. Since nothing has been shared with me, maybe there's no connection to my side, at least not yet.
興味を持って動き出すマスコミも出てくる域だ。だが今の段階ではせいぜい警察の怠慢だとかそのくらいのチープな記事しか出てこないとは思う。
In other words, the cause is still unknown. Oh, we just gained our first keyword.
さっぱりだ。マスコミに見つけられるなら見つけてほしいくらいにな。
So even the police are grasping at straws at the moment.
それから今から話すのが最も重要な点だ。世間でこの件がまだ話題になってないのもこの点に原因があると思うんだが、事件のうちの大部分が今月に入ってからに集中してる。
What?
今年に入ってから先月までは例年よりも 2,3 割多い程度で推移してたんだ。ところがここ一月で
Oh my god.
例年の約2倍の
Suddenly we get like
達成している。
3 of them at once. Twice?
ああ、だがどれもこれも一律で倍になったという感じじゃない。殺人はやや増加って感じで、窃盗や傷害なんかはそれこそ3倍近くに達する勢いだ。
3 times more. However unaware I am of that field, the rate does make me understand what a bizarre situation the city is currently in.
つまりだ、話題になっていないのはそうなるほどの時間すら経過していないだけなんだ。
So it's just a matter of time until everyone knows about it.
おかげで徹夜の連続だ。先週買ったエナガの写真集はまだ1ページも見れていない。
You're talking about the birds, right? Yeah, okay. A type of bird that can be found in a large portion of the world from Europe and Central Asia to Japan. It's a small bird with a long tail. They're ultra cute. This is merely the writer's distorted image of the bird. They are cute. Unfortunate naming sense, but they are cute.
少年はエナガって小鳥の可愛さを知ってるか？俺はあいつらを守るためなら人類の敵になることも辞さないよ。
Very fond of them. As a policeman, you're supposed to protect the human race.
まあ上下や部署関係なく皆多忙なわけだから不満を漏らさずに踏ん張るしかないがな。
Basically, if the amount of crimes doubles, twice as much manpower is required to handle them. If a situation like that really has been lasting for almost a month, the police force is probably in pretty bad shape.
俺の勝手な想像だが、以前から水面下で起こっていた何かが今月の頭あたりに爆発したと睨んでいる。
Something.
どれほどの規模で何が起こっているのか一切が不明。はっきり言ってお手上げの状態だ。
He gives me a wary smile, but I can see his eyes are filled with determination.
参考になるかはわからないが、事件だけじゃなく交通事故も増えているらしい。
Also twice as many?
まだ具体的な数字は算出されていないが、交通課員の疲れ切った顔を見ている。
Maybe the traffic cops are stuck in a traffic jam. Not just incidents, but even accidents.
どうだ、君たち絡みの話のような気がしないが。
Have the police had any contact from anyone from above?
今のところはないらしい。だが、こんな現象を普通に起こせるとは考えづらいだろう。
In other words, he thinks that something beyond the ordinary is something to do with this. Care to elaborate on that?
そのつもりだよ。
Raspberry jam, perhaps even grape.
あまり期待しないでも
Personally,
ら
I
える
would
と
be
助
more
かる。
inclined to a cherry.
本当に何も
Cherry
分かってないに等しいんだ。
jam. He then lights his second cigar. Isn't that just a plain old cigarette, not a cigar? Luckily, it was easy to find the CD I wanted. I think I was in the store for less than 10 minutes, but as I get back to the shopping street, I see that it's getting more crowded. I can still put up with this many people, but I don't feel like being around here any longer. Since I wanted to come out here, I wanted to look for some clothes or books, but I think I'll just head straight home.
すいません、ちょっといいですか？
Again? I suddenly hear a voice from behind me, but it doesn't startle me at all because it's a familiar one. Turning around, I predictably face the boy from earlier and the girl that I witnessed near the theater.
さっきはありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
無事に会えたんだ。
はい、それで家に帰ろうと思ってたらお姉さんの
私が、
Sorry, I didn't think you would be saying more than that.
そんな別に気にしないでいいのに。
いや、雫は一人になるのすごい苦手だしな。
怖かったの。
だからちょっとでも早く見つ
I'm
けられて
guessing
よ
his
かったです。
name is green because that's the color of his eyes, and her name is pink, maybe because of the...
そっか。
I forget the word. Whoa! They're Oomfies! They're one of Chiharu's Oomfies, one of her followers! They're real life Oomfies! The gratitude feels a bit too weighty for my half-hearted response back then, and now I'm starting to feel a bit guilty.
ああ、やっぱ携帯とかスマホとかあれば迷っ
しないのにね。
No, her pink is... It's neither her eyes nor the bow. Well,
二
she's
人は
pink, I
携
guess.
帯電話は持ってないの？
持ってないです。お兄ちゃんがもっと大人になってからだって。
So you're siblings, right?
お兄ちゃんがまだ早いって。
あのさ、もしかして二人は兄弟？
違うよ。
No?
違うね。
The rather smooth harmony between them makes me feel their relationship goes beyond mere friendship.
ごめんね。二人とも同じ人のことお兄ちゃんって言ってるみたいだし、二人のことも少し似てるかなと思ったんだけど、なんていうか見た目じゃなくて雰囲気がってよくわかんないよね。
間違ってないと思います。
She makes the first eye contact with me, smiling.
兄ちゃんは雫のお兄ちゃんだよな。
私のお兄ちゃん。
そうなの。
まあでも俺
I'm basically in the family. Oh?
ジュン君も家族なの。
ごめん。もしかして複雑な話だった？
西し。
Nishi. Oh my god. Nishi. Which One Piece character was it that had this specific laugh? Doesn't Luffy laugh like that as well?
にしし。複雑なんだよね。
I thought I brought up a delicate matter, but it doesn't seem that serious based on the smiles they're
で
wearing.
も二人だけでお出かけってことは仲がいいのは確かなんだよね。
もちろん。
その返事だけでも十分伝わるよ。
でも二人だけで来たのは偶然でさ、一緒に来てくれるはずだった兄ちゃんが急に来れなくなったんだ。
お仕事だって。
だから映画見に来たのにさ、
Because they're too
中に
young.
入れなかったんだよ
入れないってどうして？
な。なんとか12って言って 12歳未満は保護者と来てくださいって言われた。
Ah.
言われちゃった。
ああ、それは仕方ないね。
It's a PG-12 movie. I thought that sort of rating system existed just in form, so I'm impressed that they actually denied these kids entry at the ticket booth.
大人と一緒に行って怖い映画なの？
Why wouldn't they deny them entry? They could get in legal trouble if they let kids in.
別に怖くないよ。2なんだけどさ、1は一緒にビデオで見たもんな。
見たもんね。
僕の体を返してくださいって侍が CM してるやつ。姉ちゃん知ってる？
No.
それなら知ってるよ。ちょうど
Okay, I guess we have.
でやってるやつだよね。
それそれ。12歳未満は大人と来てくださいって。
11 years old is mature enough. Sure, sure, buddy.
大人なの。
I
姉
mean,
ちゃんとしては
you could try
11
to
歳は子供だと思うけどね。
like put her on your shoulders and put on a trench coat and be like, oh yes, we are an adult, one singular adult. The moment I've learned their ages, I'm even more impressed by how politely they've been behaving. It's not just a language or precociousness. I don't feel any difficulty when I'm talking to them. If anything, it's like I'm having a conversation with someone almost my own age.
姉ちゃんさ、そういうの思い込みって言うんだぜ。
そんなことないよ。だって2人が大人ならお姉ちゃんおばちゃんになっちゃうから。
Oh.
ああ、お米心ってやつ。
そんな美味しそうな心はお姉ちゃん持ち合わせてないけど。
あのね、じゅんくん、乙女心だと思うの。
Skirt. Aha.
それそれ、乙女心ってやつ。
Mm-hmm.
それとね、じゅんくん、女の人とお話しするのに年のことは
The
ダメ
doll
っ
lady?
て人形の。
そうなのか？そっか、そうなんだ。ごめんなさい、姉ちゃん。
You're all good. Admonished by the little girl, the little boy gives me an apologetic bow, surprisingly frankly. My first impression of these two was that this Shizuku girl dependently strings along with this boy called Jun. It seems to have been a bit of the mark.
いやー、そこで謝られた方が傷つくかも。それは。
そうなの？
うん。私は年とか気にしないから平気だけど、気にしてる人が相手なら謝ったつもりでも逆の意味で取られちゃうかな。
All I'm concerned with is Amakawa's age preference. But even if I find that out, I won't be able to do anything about it. This, oh my god, is that going to be her entire personality?
へえ、
そうなんだ。
ならさ、素直に年を聞けばいいってこと？
理由がない限りは聞かないし、聞いちゃった場合は謝らないことかな。
難しいな。
難しいね。
難しいよ。
My imitation must have sounded amusing to them as they erupted in joyous laughter. Aside from Amakawa, I haven't had this sense of intimacy for years. That's really the only reason for what I'm about to ask. There's no ulterior motive.
しずくちゃんとじゅんくんって呼ばせてもらうけど、映画さ、お姉ちゃんが一緒に見るっていうのはどうかな？
Yes, good idea. Take random kids you are not related to or know to a movie theater. I do understand how objectively awkward it appears for me to ask these complete strangers to a movie. Given how mature and smart they are, it's no wonder even if they turn me down. However, the facial expression they put on is neither quizzical nor incredulous. It looks as though they are seeing through everything. I can't put it into words, but when I look at them, even though they are completely different from him in every way from age to outward appearance, they slightly resemble Amakawa. Girl! Do you have anything else in your brain? Or just the guy? And then I realized that's the biggest reason I've been able to treat them as those of similar age.
でもな、しずく。
ねえ、じゅんくん、
どうだろうな。
どうだろうね。
私、危ない人みたいだね。ちっちゃい子を甘い言葉で誘っちゃうみたいな感じで。
食虫植物ってやつ？
ウツボカズラ？
I'm sorry, what?
例えはすごい微妙だけど、そんな感じかも。っていうか、二人ともよくそういう言葉知ってるね。
しずくはさ、オッケー？
もちろん。
それじゃあさ、 姉ちゃんよろしくな。
よろしくお願いします。
一緒に行くってこと？
This say guys only think about one.
やっぱり俺たちみたいな子供と一緒だと迷惑？
そんなことないよ。こっちから誘ったんだから。
I haven't been to a movie theater
二人
in
のこと食べる
ages.
つもりもないから安心してね。
In fact, I haven't even seen any movies in ages. The last movie I watched was the newest Batman, and that was in a Discord call with friends. So, well,
ねえ、純くん、時間
you missed out on Morbius. Watch out, he's about to morb. What's a movie?
あ、そっか。姉ちゃん
Something that
11
makes
時
it very
30
hard
分
for
から
me to
始まるん
focus
だ
on.
けど。
My wristwatch says it's a little past
じゃあ
11:20.
急がないとね。でももういない。
You missed out on Minions too? I haven't even seen the original Minions. I've also not seen any of the... How many are there? 3? Despicable Me. Before I even finished speaking, Jun and Shizuku were running along toward the theater hand in hand. That's exactly what I imagined them doing. Hopefully I have a chance to do it just like them. Immersed in one of those idea future visions of mine, I scurry down the street to catch up with them. Time to marathon all of them in one day? Oh god, no. Get caught up on the deep lore? No. I don't want to get caught up on the deep lore. I don't wanna. It's already bad enough that I've seen a bunch of very mind-boggling incest art of the Gru brothers, so like I don't want to get caught up on the lore of the movies. Thank you. Under stunningly blue sky, perfect for the long-awaited vacation, our conversation continues in complete contrast with the beauty overhead.
一番の問題は異常な点が件数の
We're
多
just
さだ
scared
け
of having a
って
good
と
time. I don't know. I wish I was more of a movie person, but it's just really hard for me because it's like I can only sit there and not do anything else myself and focus on it. That's just not something I can do. I can read for a long time because I have to like get to the next page. I can play a visual novel for a long time because I'm reading and pressing a few buttons. That's enough, but I cannot do that during a movie. And like fidget tools don't really work for me. There were Gru brothers. I only saw the first. I think the brother shows up in the third movie or something. I don't fucking know. I've not seen them either.
言い方は悪いが一つ一つの事件を注目してみたときに普段から警察が扱っているような事件ばかりなんだ。犯罪の内容に同期、加害者や被害者の年齢や性別の比率、逮捕後の加害者たちの反応、何もかもがいつも通り。
Well, how's that bothering you?
例えば不景気が原因で事件が増加しているのなら金銭絡みの事件が増える。誰かが刀剣や重火器の類をばらまいたせいで治安が悪くなったのなら、それらが使われる事件が増える。そうして本来ならば事件が増えた原因に依存する共通点が出てくるべきなんだよ。
I agree with that based on my own experience. Just a year ago, I was in charge of this case where people from a certain company committed crimes manipulated by various hypnosis-like powers. And all of them had no memory of what they had done during the manipulation.
そしてその共通点さえ見つかればそこを突破口として捜査を進められるはずなんだが。
But you haven't discovered anything in common between each of the cases yet?
ああ、加害者が共通の薬物を使っていないか、特定の思想や心情を抱いていないか、
Ideology, really?
事件の内容が特筆して残虐だったり衝動的だったりしないか、なんて具合にありとあらゆる角度で捜査を行っているんだが、何一つ見えてこない。
Consider this an outsider's opinion, but there could be a drug that hardly leaves any trails of itself. Perhaps it's just that the common denominator is extremely hard to discover. Maybe it's something very common, so it doesn't show up. Like it's something, like not a drug, but something you eat, something you drink. Like, that's a very common thing. So it wouldn't be suspicious if it's like just some, I don't know, fucking someone is putting a drug that doesn't leave any trace in rice, and I go out on a limb and say the average Japanese person eats rice very regularly.
だが、組対がどれほど調べても噂すら手に入らなかった。
But how would you find that out then? They might be using some stealthy method of communication.
そこまで誰の耳にも入らないなら、どうしてそれほどの数の人間
This
が
also reminds you of Lafina and Spogsville. Oh, I said earlier that it reminds me of Infinite Stratus when we saw the girl. Lafina? Really? Hold on. Lafina. I'm not sure. I've never seen Lafina. So. Lafina? No, not Lafgina. I can tell. Lafina. No, I think Lafina still looks a little more old schoolish than this, but I can see what you mean. Right.
現物は抑えられなくても噂くらいは入ってくるはずだ。警官なんてやってるとよくわかるが、人の口に戸は立てられないって話は本当なんだよ。だが、噂レベルの話すら聞こえてはこない。
There's literally nothing because there's neither fire nor smoke.
ああ、もちろん。煙すら見えないのは薬に限ったことじゃなく、さっき話した全ての要素についても同様だ。
So you haven't even begun to solve the case yet. If the absolute number of cases were small, it would be understandable that you couldn't uncover the source of smoke. Yet ironically, now there appears to be more than enough. Despite that, the police are still totally clueless, which means...
こうなってくると、事件や事故が増えてるのには、実
That's
は
a
理由なん
question
て
reminds
ないん
you
じ
of
ゃない
magical
か
eyes, whereas for Anguish. That's the last thing we want to think about.
理由も原因もないものは解決なんてしようがないからな。
I like it though. What on earth is going on in the city?
その答えを一番聞きたいのは俺たち警察だ。うちの署もこの一月は修羅場と化してる。
If you only look at this guy's face, he does look a little bit like a very tired and cigarette smoking Noctis. Fantasy 50. Just with less unruly hair. I feel like he would need a few more pieces of hair to be stuck out, and maybe it's a middle-aged corporate Noctis. That's sad. As long as things keep happening in spite of all the struggles by the authorities, they have no choice but to press ahead. And on top of that, the more incidents occur, the more the number of victims grows. This will soon start affecting many things other than the police. Wait a minute. Up until now, I was too focused on how inexplicable the situation is to realize what he really had been wanting to tell me. Azuma, does this whole thing include incidents where people die?
全ての事件が増加してると言ったろ。だから正直、少年がこの件を知らなかったのは意外だ。むしろ情報を聞きたがっているとさえ思っていた。
It's very understandable. The variants are differently shaped entities into which living beings turn when death comes to them. On that premise, if the number of deaths increases, the number of variants should increase accordingly.
俺はそう考えたんだが、君のところも大忙しかと思っていた。
No, at least not in the area I'm in charge of.
今の流れが偶然じゃないのなら、覚悟くらいはしておいた方がいいだろう。
Now I get it. When Azuma said a consolation for both you and me for doing these unrewarding jobs, he meant it literally. He said it to express his sympathy for the supposed busyness at my end.
今回の件は相当特殊なケースだから、何かの突破口とまではいかなくても、ありとあらゆる可能性を探りたい。前置きが長くなってしまったけど、要件はシンプルだ。この騒動に君たち末路あるものや異形が絡んでいる可能性。
What? I'm sorry, what's a disobeyer? Human beings have become varied while living because of their strong emotions. With those emotions as the source, they each possess special powers. On the other hand, those entities that have become varied due to a burst of emotion upon death are simply called variants, or occasionally human variants. So, we're disobeyers. Any evolvements from our side, huh? I'm not sure if it's fortunate or not for him, but my answer to the question must be the opposite of what he anticipated. This is just my personal presumption, but I hardly think so.
即答だな。
When you look at the disobeyers collectively, we're not slack and lenient enough to miss out on anything suspicious that's rising to the surface our way.
当然、この事態も把握していると。
No mistake. Just like you and me, there should be an information exchange network between the brass.
十中八九そうだろうな。
And considering that even a frontline member like me hasn't gotten anything from my supervisor, they probably don't suspect any connections between said phenomenon and us presently. You've had plenty of criminals and evidence from the cases so far, haven't you?
留置場も保管庫も溢れ返りそうなくらいな。
In that case, I'm pretty sure they already went through all those criminals and evidence materials to see if there were any trails of supernatural powers left on them. Even after that, we haven't made a move.
何の痕跡もなかった。は
I assume that's the conclusion. The conclusion for now, that is.
あ、なるほどね。
I'm pretty confident about what I shared with him so far, but most of it is still based on my theories. I'm going to need to confirm with Pops later.
まあ正直な話、そちら絡みだとは考えてなかったんだ。今までの経験からここまでの大事にそちらさんが関係してるのなら真っ先に介入してくるはずだからな。
There's been nothing interrupting your investigation?
ああ、誰からの干渉も受けずに。
That lowers the possibility of variance involvement even further.
しかしな、君たち絡みでもないとすると、ますます理由もなく事件が増えているとしか思えなくなっ
But
てい
such
る。
a sharp increase is weird.
それはつまり、この状況がいつまで続くか不明ってことだろう。
Yes.
ああ、仕事辞めたい。
And play with alpacas! Do they have a picture of alpacas when I click on it? A South American camelid animal whose wool is used for commercial purposes. Use comment on them spitting is a trait that several more camelid animals have in common. Aww. I like alpacas. I have a giant pink alpaca plush. Did you know alpacas spit when they're mad?
むしろご褒美だな。
Excuse me. That really underlines both your love for animals and how exhausted you are.
ああ、さて、こうしてベンチで一服できるのはたまらなく幸せだが、税金で飯食ってる身としては、そろそろお開きにしないと。
I try to pay more attention to my surroundings.
できれば、異業絡みということに限らず頼めるか。少年くらい街を見てる人間なら、何か違和感に気づくかもしれない。
Alpacas are cute unless they're angry. I mean, that goes for a lot of animals, though. I will.
それじゃあ、そろそろ行かせてもらうが、調べている途中でヤバいことになりそうだったら本館を呼べよ。
Will you come save me?
いや、すぐさま強そうなやつを応援に呼ぶ。
Damn, okay.
勇敢な一市民である少年とは違い、本館のようにか弱い警察官は自分のことで手一杯だ。
The self-proclaimed Vimp officer lazily walks away, waving his hand in farewell. Left alone in the park, I can feel an indefinable mist-like thing swirling inside my mind. It's not that I could make out anything particular from the story Azuma told me. What causes the mist is an impending sense of crisis. What if it is linked to something that's still unknown? My golden week started with an ounce of glee, but it seems like it's already about to get messed up by the irrational side of my everyday life. That could be a light novel title. My everyday life gets messed up by an irrational event. No, that sounds a little too boring to be a light novel title. Whatever. Back to the little kids. The movie wasn't a time to move you to tears, but I could clearly see the passion that the production team had put into it. All in all, it was a very good movie. However, I'm not really interested in movies like that, so I'm not sure how much weight my opinion carries. The only reason I could enjoy myself is because I replaced the protagonist, Samurai, with a completely different person. She's annoying.
俺はあのソフトクリームに感動した。
感動したの。
二人とも美味しそうに食べてたもんね。
The ice cream was served in cups so you can take your time eating. The kids must have liked that too.
姉ちゃん、買ってくれてありがとうな。
ありがとう。
それは別にいいんだけどさ、二人とも映画は面白くなかったの？
面白かったけど、なんていうか、ありきたり？
ありきたり。
特に最後らへんがさ、 愛さえあれば大丈夫とか言われてもないよな。
ないよね。ないよね。
お姉ちゃんさ、もうちょっと若いうちは夢を持った方がいいと思うんだ。
でも俺たちって現実的だか
You're
らさ。
11 years old.
現実的なの。
私は最後の方が良かったと思うけど、特にほらお姫様とお侍さんのシーンはロマンチックな感じでさ。
Strictly speaking, it's not the scene itself. I just imagine how awesome it would be if Amakawa whispered those charming lines to me.
ソフトクリームの上にかかってた
Okay.
綺麗なやつの方がロマンチックだって。
チョコレートの味がしたよ。
うまうまだったし。
うしうしだったね。
そんなに美味しかったんだ。私も食べればよかったかも。
マジでうまかったんだけどさ。
どうしたの？
やっぱりおごってもらったのはまずかった。
今からお姉ちゃんにお金渡そう。
だよな。姉ちゃんさ、やっぱりソフトクリーム
Do you
の
guys
お金
have
受け取ってよ。
いいのいいの。お姉ちゃん一人だけで飲み物頼んでも寂しいからってこっちからお願いしたんだから。
でもさ、俺いつも兄ちゃんに言われてるから、素敵な女性にはおごられるんじゃなくておごってあげなって
言ってたよね。
すごいこと言うお兄さんだね。
ちなみにこの場合の素敵っていうのは心のことだとも言ってた。だから俺さ、雫にもよくお菓子おごるもんな。
ジュン君、それは。
おませさんだね、二人と。
I mean, they're so grown up, I'm even beginning to feel like they're actually much more experienced in life than I am.
じゃあさ、おごったわけじゃなくて楽しい映画を見せてもらったお礼ってことでどうかな。私一人なら映画館になんて絶対に来なかったもの。
姉ちゃんはあの映画楽しかったの？
あれ、そこに引っかかっちゃうの？
だって
前の方が良かったよね。
姉ちゃんはさ、どこが面白かったの？
Perhaps it's some kind of fate that all sequels have to face. Well, I wasn't really admiring the movie itself either.
ねえ、主人公の体の大きさと声の高さとかが私の知ってる人に
That is
ちょっと似
true
てるとこ
though.
ろが良
Lots
か
of
った。
times a sequel to something will not be as good as the original. Or like most people will not like it as much as the original. But still. Of course, the actor was not attractive to me in the slightest. But he and Amakawa had so many physical features in common that I could easily swap them in my hand.
なんだよ、映画の内容関係ないじゃん。
If all of her scenes are always going to tie back into her, oh, Amakawa this, Amakawa that, it's going to be a long ride.
関係ないよ。
確かにそうだけど、お姉ちゃんにとってはそれが一番大切なことなの。
まあ、姉ちゃんの言うこともちょっとわかるかも。戦ってるシーンとかはやっぱり前のと同じでかっこよかったし。
Nice.
でも主人公よりもジュン君の方がかっこいいの。
ヒロインだって雫の方がずっと可愛かったじゃん。
新婚さん、二人は新婚さんなの？
にしし。
Doesn't have enough
Hold on,
new sequel that comes out more than 10 years
だって
later.
人間は顔じゃないしな。
顔じゃないよね。
心？
いや、背中。
I desperately hold myself back from bursting into laughter with a totally unexpected and improbable answer of his.
それもお兄
Let me
さんが教
think.
えてくれ
Is
た
there a
の？
sequel to a movie that I actually enjoyed more than the original? I mean, I would say I enjoyed both Kung Fu Panda movies about the same. Maybe? So that doesn't really count. And I can't think of any other movies I've seen that have sequels.
お兄ちゃんが言ってたの。
I like the second Little Mermaid movie, despite it being way worse animated. I like the general story of it though.
さっきからずいぶんキザなお兄さんだね。
But Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, I will not be counting all of the Star Wars movies for one, because I haven't seen all of them yet, and two,
キザって女の人にカッコつける感じの人？
そうそう、そんな感じ。お兄さんは女の人だけに対してってわけじゃなさそうだけど。
そういうんじゃないと思うけど。
お兄ちゃんいつも本気で言ってるよね。
だよな。兄ちゃんはカッコつけてるんじゃなくてかっこいいしな。
もしかしてお兄さんってホストさん？
高校生。
Do I know your brother?
高校2年
え？私と同い年？
生。お姉ちゃんも高校生？
うん、そう、高校2年生。いろいろいるんだ
I
ね。
really want to know who the big brother is now.
そうそう、いろいろいるんだよ、小学生にも。
Halloween.
いろいろいるんだよ。
That's exactly what I'm realizing right here, right now, so no objections.
ああ、すごいお兄さんだね。ただ私はちょっとそういうこと言う人って苦手かも。会って話してみないとわからないけどね。
Receiving the voices of disapproval, I had that to not make them feel any worse. I'm pretty sure Amakabe is not that kind of cheesy person. But if he were, that would probably also be awesome. It's decided. Tonight I'll devote myself to dreaming of him spouting such wonderful sayings. Yeah, because every other day you would probably devote yourself to dreaming of him saying literally anything else? Question mark.
姉ちゃん？
お姉ちゃん？
何？
姉ちゃん、今すんげえ怖い目してたけど。
あ、ごめんね。ちょっと素敵な考え事してたから。
全然素敵なこと考えてる目じゃなかったけどな。
キラッとしてたの。
そんなことないと思うよ。ちょっと学校の友達のことを思い出してただけだから。
まあ自分で言うならそうなんだろうけど、それよりもさ、俺たちそろそろ帰らないとって話なんだけど。
あ、そうなんだ。
映画見たらすぐに帰るって約束してるからさ。
でもチュンくん、もうちょっと。
I was about to say we could exchange phone numbers, but you guys don't have phones.
でもさ、おばちゃんと約束したろ。
Shizuku's the one saying she wants to stay longer, but even June seems reluctant to leave. In contrast, I don't really have any kind of emotional reaction to the incoming party. I don't feel sad, and I'm not going to miss them. Even though they're the first people I've had a positive attitude toward in a while, apart from
じゃ
Amakabe.
あお姉ちゃんもお家に帰ることにするね。
そっか。
I apologize to them in spirit, but it's not out of a sense of guilt or anything. As a matter of fact, I wish I could have any sense of guilt, but it's not something I can do anything about.
ねえ、二人とも
So I'll give out this as a token of my apology.
お姉ちゃんから誘っておいてなんだけど、知らない人についていっちゃダメ。
ミシシ、大丈夫だって。姉ちゃんが悪い人じゃないからついてきたんだし。
さあ、どうかな。
間違いないって。
間違いないよね。
そんなにはっきり言われると少し照れちゃうけど。
姉ちゃんさ、危ない人はそんな風に他人のことを心配しないって。
しないよ。
心配したふりをして近づいて二人のことを食べちゃう気かも。ガオー。
ミシシ、ないない。
ミシシ。
それにそのつもりがあるかどうかくらい。
そういう時は見えるじゃなくわかるが正解だよ。
ミシシ、見えるで合ってるってな。
合ってるね。
Although I'm not quite sure what they mean, I decided to let it go now that they're in good spirits again.
じゃあ俺たち帰るね。
お姉ちゃん、ありがとう。
あのさ、二人には優しくしようと思ったのは本当だけど、私多分いい人じゃないと思うよ。
There was no need to say that, but I had to because I wanted to let them know who I truly was, not because I felt awkward. Also, I'm probably never going to see them again. Nah, they have sprites. They're going to be important enough to the story. They have sprites.
いい人じゃないかもね。
ないかも。
With that short answer, the two children ran away, holding each other's hand tightly. I didn't know what to say after those unexpected responses. Those kids sure were unusual. While they did look like normal children, their speech and behavior seemed much more mature than mine now and then. What astonished me the most is that they were giving off the same atmosphere as my beloved one, even though they hardly have anything in common. That's why I was able to let down my guard around them so easily. I feel something touch my face. Oh, looking up I find that grey clouds have started to cover the blue sky. Trusting the weather report, I left my laundry outside to dry. I better hurry home. Now that the kids are gone, I've got no more reason to remain here. Well, if I was a multimillionaire who made VNs, I'd give characters that only appeared once sprite just to troll the readers. Like, oh, this character has to be important. They got a sprite. But you have to give them sprites and like actually changes to the sprites.
初めて会った人とあんなに話すの珍しいよな。
私こんなにお話ししたの初めて。
Shizuku nods her head with a delighted face, swinging her two pigtails. Seeing her expression makes Jun happy too.
雫がわ
Super
がまま
important
言う
character
の
without
も
a
珍しいし
spine.
な。
だって
He's not trying to make fun of her, he's just surprised. She's never insisted on staying longer with someone other than him or her family. But he also understands it happened just because that high school girl was special, not because Shizuku had grown up. And he's certain that Shizuku is aware of that too.
まあ久しぶりにすごくいい色の人だったしな。
Baby fuck. Ah!
見たの？
She cast him a slightly accusing
見
glare.
ないでもわかるだろ。
Actually, he had been sorely tempted to look, but he keeps it a secret from her.
わかるよね。
自分はいい人じゃないとか言ってさ。そんなこと言われなくてもわかってるのに。
うんうん。
And that is just the reason why the two kids allowed her close to
素敵
themselves.
だったよね。
ああいう人ばっかりだと外を歩くのも楽しいのにな。
だよね。
I'm sorry, what exactly can those two see? Like people's auras or something?
その話ならもちろん把握してるぜ。犯罪が増加してるのは事実だ。
Shortly after the meeting with Azuma, I shared the knowledge with Pops and got an extremely composed response from him. So, we'll have more variants around here, right?
おいおい、詳しくこっちの仕組みを知らない一刑事ならまだしも、ジュニアらしくもねえな。
え？
そりゃ、恨みつらみを抱えがちな殺人や事故死っていうのは異常化しやすいぜ。だけどな、自殺する数、病死する数、事故や事件で死ぬ数、単純に数が多いのはどれかって考えてみろや。
I get it, you're right. I forgot to take into account what fraction of deaths are caused by accidents and crime.
もともと何百分の1だったものが倍になってもって話だわな。
So, if you suspect the increase has something to do with us, we need to focus more on more infectious diseases and such rather than accidents or crime.
そういうことだ。さらに異形になる確率ってやつを考えてみるといい。適当で乱暴な言い方だけどよ。死者のうち1万人に1人が異形になるとしてだ。10人だった被害者が20人になったとしたらどうだい？
It's 2 in 10,000 deaths? We probably wouldn't get a variant in the city, at most just one.
だろう？
I don't know, I'm not... Listen, I'm math? Don't make me do math. What's going on in the city at the moment may have a negative impact on our day-to-day lives, but there will be almost no effect on our variance business.
まあ、それだけ悲しむ人も増えているだろうから、街に住む一人の人間としては憂慮すべきことだがな。俺たちにどうこうできる問題じゃねえさ。
Now that you put it that way, it's very unlikely that variants are involved in it.
上はそう判断しているようだな。情報を一通り見せてもらったが、俺の見立ても似たようなもんだ。
Didn't you find anything suspicious while you were at it?
まあな、妙な言い回しになっちまうが、ありふれた事件ばかりだったぜ。
Commonplace how?
前々から金銭に困っていたとか、知人との間で積もりに積もった不満が爆発だとか、そういうやつだ。
That's what Azuma said. They're not so different from what they would usually deal with.
そういう積み重ねが動機になってるもんはよ。やれ薬だ、俺たちの力だでどうこうできねえだろ。
The number's enormous as well. I mean, who'd have the imagination to conjure up all those relationships and money
え
problems?
この件はこちら絡みじゃないと上も判断しているわけだ。もちろんこれだけ不可解な事態だ。引き続き警察とは協力していくらしいがな。
Okay, I understand the situation. Is it alright if I share this with Sazuma?
ああ、構わんね。
I think I'll call him
し
later.
かしがっかりだぜジュニア。
What do you mean?
走って駆け込んできた時にはてっきりうちの料理が恋しくなったんだと思ったのに。
Yeah, no. Please take it easy with the jokes when your cooking is already a joke, Pops.
はい、普通は顔じゃねえか。冗談は顔だけって言うんじゃねえか。
By the way, I see this place is unaffected by the holiday crowds.
さっぱりと人の行為を無視した上にとどめを刺しに来たな。
I've never seen any customers in here even during New Year's.
まあ連休なんて関係なく客は少ししか来ないからな。要望さえあればこっちの仕事みたいに年中無休24時間営業でも構わないんだけどな俺は。
Ooh. That'd be the least appreciated 24/7 shop ever.
ところでジュニアよ、せっかく顔出したんだから遅めのランチなんかどうだ。
I'm hungry though.
新作のエレクトリカルチャーハン、文字通りしびれるぜ、物理的にも。
Ooh. It better get labeled as poison.
劇的な感動を覚えるって意味じゃ劇物だな。しかも驚くなよジュニア。試しに電球を接触させてみたら、
Oh
実際に明かりが止まったんだぜ。
And you still want people to eat this? Wasn't electrical a metaphor? No, you're not gonna serve such crazy stuff.
刺激的な味を追求したら結果こうなった。おそらく何らかの化学反応だな。料理を心から愛する俺のために料理の神様が奇跡を起こしてくれたんだろうぜ。
It's a devil, not a god, and the devil seems to have rather overwhelming powers.
そういえば昨日の夜コウモリの羽を背中につけた紳士と夢で語り合ったような。
See, I knew it.
まあまあ最初から首を縦に振ってくれるとは思っていねえよ。そこでだ、もし食べてくれたら10万円出すぜ。
Excuse me, I'll be taking my leave now. I hurry out of the shop, escaping from the crisis of my life. As I take a deep breath to replace the air in my lungs, I'm struck by a strange pungent smell. The surrounding air must be spoiled. While Pops is so horrible at cooking that I desire to exile those who license him as chef, his other face is dependable enough to die for. That's why I'd come all the way here to ask for his advice, even with the peril to my own life, and I know a lot of my co-workers will do the same. For instance, so would the figure sedately approaching over there.
Yo, 高校生
Yo! Hi there, Rin. Susanari Nin. One of the disobeyers working for the same organization as Amakawa Yu, he's also a silver accessory designer. Although he's always wearing outstanding outfits, he's doing it only as a result of choosing whatever he wants and not trying to be a cross-dresser. His characteristics and tastes are completely manly. Both publicly and privately, he's madly in love with his partner Kuri. Oh, you're the one who's always talking about... Aha, okay.
猛烈な匂いがしてるけど、もしかしてここで飯食った？
No way. If I had, I wouldn't be standing like this. I just had a small talk with him.
そうだとは思ったんだけどな。高校生が急にモンスターに変化したら困るからな。
Are you here to talk to him too?
まあな。ちょっと聞きたいことがあって。
I like the character design. Oh, I also like that sprite. 9 out of 100 wouldn't believe it, but this person who's now brushing their hair up with the manners of an actress is biologically a male. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. That was terribly needed. No.
どうした？
It doesn't feel right to see you without Kuri. I don't know, it just feels like something's missing. Kuri is Susanari's work buddy, his number one girl. For special reasons, she does not show herself in front of others very often. She's referred to as Maron and doted on by Susanari, while she calls him Rain and loves him just as much. Maron, okay.
やっぱりそうか。
You two are always together. If I remember right, it's been around a year since I last saw you by yourself.
今日は商売相手からの指定でいつもの店が使えなくて、一人で打ち合わせに出かける羽目になったんだ。
He shows a displaced face, which proves that he really hates the fact that he had to come out without her.
俺はさ、2人で行動できないなら断ろうと思ったんだけど、マロンちゃんに話だけでも聞いてみればって言われるから。
That sounds so like her.
ああ、マロンちゃん、見たこともない相手のことまで気遣ってさ、ほんと可愛いよな。
Isn't that wrong? In this context, shouldn't you describe her as kind, not adorable?
バカ、どっちも同じだよ。可愛いし優しいからな。いや、優しくて可愛いのか。違うな。可愛いし可愛いんだ。ま、誤解するなよ。当然優しさだって
I
宇宙
see
ト
now.
ップクラスだ
You
ぜ
are。terribly in love with her. Okay. I have to say, I've never met any space people.
比べるまでもないだろうが、あの可愛さだぜ。
Alright.
で、高校生なのにこんな時間にうろうろしてるけど、
No, I have to day off.
学校はサボテン？
It's a national holiday today, you know?
ああ、そうか。学生には休日っていうもんがあるんだ
Don't you have any?
な。ないさ。暦に縛られる生き方はしてないからな。マロンちゃんには縛られてる。お、変な意味でじゃないの？
Okay! I don't really care which way it is.
心だぞ。愛の奴隷的な意味だぞ。
I don't really want the details either. To begin with, self-proclaimed slaves of love or not, none of us really have days off. That goes for me too. This is my third work-related meeting so far on the very first day of Golden Week.
まあな。本来俺たちには縁のない話だ。
I mean, with the way that the days are playing out in this game so far, I have a feeling that the entire game is probably going to take place only during Golden Week. I'm pretty sure you and Cody are also busy with other stuff.
だな。テレビとか見てれば曜日の感覚っていうのは多少あるんだけど、アクセの方が忙しくて数日見ないと2人してもう終わりだ。
That could happen to me after high school.
さあな。どこぞの地獄料理人みたいに自分で店でも持つかもしれないし。
Just like Pops, huh?
なんかおかしいか？十分あり得るだろ？
I'm not sure. I like how he's so blunt with his advice. In fact, I even find it comfortable when he does it, because most people tread pretty lightly around me.
俺だって今みたいにアクセ作ってる生活なんて昔は考えたこともなかったからな。人生どう転ぶかなんてわからないもんだって。
Really?
ああ、俺もマロンちゃんも高校生ぐらいの時は力とか周囲の状況のことでいっ
I
ぱい
wonder what kind of power he has. Shouldn't you have said neither of you had time for anything but loving each other?
おいおいおい、俺はなんてミスをしてしまったんだ。しゃべにならんぜこれは。
Nah, there.
なあ高校生、そのセリフ俺のセリフとして言い直してもいいか？
Whatever floats your boat.
やっぱりダメだ。言い直しても俺の罪が消えるわけじゃない。早めに帰ってマロンちゃんに懺悔しなきゃな。
What kind of odd confession is that? That'll just puzzle her.
わからないままでも受け入れてくれる。それがマロンちゃんの心の広さだよ。それにもし戸惑ったとしても戸惑うマロンちゃんは最高に可愛いだろうし。
Okay.
なあ、
I'm not quite sure. No matter what she does, you love it, don't you?
こんなとこで雑談してる場合じゃなくなってきた。さっさと用事済ませてマロンちゃんのところに帰るとするわ。 今頃俺と離れて一人寂しく泣いているかもしれないしな。
Yeah, go right back home for her. Based on my impression, she's a more independent person than that.
まあ高校生とはいつでも話す機会はあるしな。
Off duty, hopefully.
まったくだ。
I can't help but hope for that now that I know the city's in such an unsettled state. Alright. Oh. Why is it a screen again? Ah, because we're in a different part of the... Ha ha ha! I knew it! I wonder who the big brother could be. But I held it in. I kept it to myself because I didn't want to be wrong on the off chance that I would be wrong. Boom! Amakawa Yu's little sister. As of the opening chapter, she's 11 years old and a fifth grader. She's one of Jun's classmates in his childhood friend. Her mother makes her look as childlike as possible, same as Jun. Based on our standard, children should stay childlike. She has trouble with clams. Thank you for the hat. An 11-year-old boy freed along with the Amakawas. He's one of Shizuku's classmates and her childhood friend. There's something similar to a brotherhood between him and you. He spends most of the year with the Amakawas because of his father, who is his only family, being mostly absent from home, and his father and Yu's father being friends. He does not like pickled plums. That's a mood. I don't think I've ever tried pickled plums though. When I get home, I'm welcomed by my sister and brother, both in an unbelievably cheerful mood. Since I cancelled my outing with them at the last minute, both of them were pretty disappointed this morning. Did something good happen to you guys?
いいことっていうか、いろいろあった。
Care to explain?
いろいろはいろいろだよな。
困ったり楽しかったりしたの。
Okay, let's start off with the trouble.
最初さ、映画見れないところだったんだけどさ。
Why not? Didn't you have enough money on you?
なんとか12って言われて、保護者と一緒じゃなきゃダメだって言われた。
チケットを買うところで年が足りないって。
Ah, because it was an action movie. I regret shallowly sending the kids out there without thinking it through. But why would they look this happy now when I couldn't see it? Did you watch the mother movie?
それがさ、親切な姉ちゃんが一緒に見てくれるって。
A young lady.
髪の長い
Long-haired and gorgeous. Wow. Was it one from the Disobeyers?
知らない姉ちゃん。
So it sounds like they ran into someone well-intentioned who happened to help them. Well, I've got nothing to say as long as you thought she was okay. Based on how they're behaving, I can tell that this young lady wasn't dangerous. I don't know anyone better than them at sizing up people, whether it's a grown-up or a child.
後でおばちゃんに聞いたら、本当は一緒に見るのは20歳以上の人がいいらしいんだけどさ。
お母さんはバレなかったんだから OK って言ってた。
Oh, right, you're only an adult. When you're 20. Oopsie.
おばちゃんってちょい悪だよな。
かっこいいよね。
So they couldn't even have gotten in even if they had taken him with them, because he's also not 20. Let's not get into how rambunctious my mom can be for now. So, the woman was under 20?
高校2年生だって言ってたから、多分兄ちゃんと同じくらいじゃない？
でもちょっと大人っぽく見えたの。
That could be why they let her in at the theater. She might even go to the same school as me. But the chances of that are low, since there are a couple other high schools in the area. Ha, 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 ha. What a joke. You know, it's surprising that you two followed a total stranger like that, but what's even more surprising is that you sound like you had fun.
そのお姉ちゃんがいい色してそうだったからかな。
Did you see it?
そんなことする必要もないくらいだって。
だよね。
What a nice lady.
いや、いい色だけど、いい人っていうのは違うかな。
すっごく綺麗なお姉ちゃんだったよ。
まあ、俺たちには優しいのは確かだよな。
That sounds like she's not nice to anyone else.
だってそうだったから。
What's that about?
だって俺たちと話してる時とチケット売り場のおばちゃんと話してる時で空気が全
I
然
mean,
違ったもん。
that's because she was saying it herself, like how she can interact with them better because they remind her of Amakawa, which makes sense now because this is literally Amakawa's little sister, so they would be somewhat similar.
なんて言ったらいいんだろう。
クール？
そうそう、クールってやつ。顔は笑ってるんだけど、すんげえ冷たいの、空気が。ああいう
ド S なの。
Super saddest. Just how did you learn those words?
綺麗な兄ちゃん。
綺麗なお兄ちゃん。
Okay, well, I'll need to have a talk with Rin later. But really, you sure you didn't know this kind lady?
じゃないと思う。俺たちも知らないし、向こうも俺たちのことを知ってる感じじゃなかったし。
でも私とジュン君が2人で話しかけた時は最初から
多分だけどさ、雫の可愛さにメロメロになっちゃったんじゃないか？
私はジュン君のかっこよさにだと思うけど。
What's with this weird banter exchange? No, I know who you're imitating. I'll definitely need to have a talk with both Rin and Kuri later. Anyway, you two had fun today, right?
すっげえ楽しかった。
楽しかったの。
Okay. I feel very grateful to this warm-hearted young lady who made the day after how deeply disappointed they were this morning. I know this won't really do anything to reward her, but as your brother, I'll put extra effort into today's patrol, so that the nice young lady can spend her days off with a smile. Even if I may not be able to get myself directly involved in the unusual phenomenon, I should support Azuma by finding out whatever I can. It will probably end up helping the people of the city, including that young woman, live their lives a little more peacefully.
なあしずく、これが姉ちゃんの言ってたあれ。
お兄ちゃんはキザだって話。
そうそう、それそれ。
What's with that sudden private conversation?
いやさ、やっぱり兄ちゃんはあれなのかなと思って。
お兄ちゃんはホストなの？
Eh? No, it's use room, okay. Before going to bed, I find myself thinking about the bizarre situation the city is in right now. I remember something one of my co-workers, a doctor, once told me. What you have to be the most alert for is a situation where you have light symptoms like a headache or fever on the surface, but you have no idea why they're showing up. I suppose that is what's been bothering Azuma the most. He must be way more concerned about the fact that they haven't discovered the cause behind this crime wave than he is about the crimes themselves. A slight headache could be one of the symbols of a serious illness that could kill you. However, in my opinion, the symptoms the city is experiencing already go beyond slight. Even if all those cases are in the category of regular crimes and there's nothing that I can do about it, I should probably sort out the information I have and prepare myself for the future. It's just another person who lives here in the city. Who knows when one of the people I know will fall victim? Ah, there it is! There's a reasoning mode that they told us about in the beginning that I've been looking forward to seeing. Nice. Tutorial 4. At important points in the story, you can infer the case using the vocabulary you've gained up to that point. Does case list clicking each solution. Completing reason mode will display your rank in 3 steps. Depending on your rank, additional scenarios or special options may be viewed at the title menu, which means we want to get the highest rank possible all the time. This is perfect though. That means we are reaching the first reasoning for the end of the stream. Cool. Okay. There's something strange going on in the city right now. What is it? Oh, okay. We only have that one option. An unusually high crime rate. How long has the phenomenon been going on? Since January is what he said, like, right? January? What is the cause of the phenomenon? Ooh. Unknown cause, drug. Wait, no, they check. I know the correct answer. I cannot tell you why though. Like, I do not understand why this would be the correct answer, but okay. Here we go. Yes. Special has been added on title screen. Achievement unlocked, true culprit. And it's Pops. You are the bad. Even after going through what I know like this, the most I can do is nothing more than putting it all together. In spite of the fact that we've never had a considerable amount of crime here, there aren't enough clues to make any inferences from. With that said, paying attention to everything would be the best way of investigating for the time being. Bad food drives people to commit murder, even the best of us. Apparently. I've been told that it's pretty unlikely, but it's not impossible for variants to be involved. Or rather, given how peculiar it is, I can't get rid of the strong impression that they are. That's why I believe I need to give this all I've got, so that I don't miss any symptoms when they show up, so that I can see through to what causes them, and so that I don't lose anyone important to me. Okay. So... Oh. What a horrible day. Kuchiki Kosuke mutters walking down the dog alley. Bad luck is such a burdensome thing to come across. Just having some is already a big disaster, but what's worse is that you have to deal with the consequences later. If you get injured, you need treatment. If you fight with someone, you need to apologize to them. In the case of this particular man, he's lost the documents that he spent the last 3 days finishing up and has to do them all over again. It's repairable, but it's not that easy for him to quickly forget it and move on. He keeps powerlessly walking down the alley that leads to the residential selection he lives in. The lamppost in the middle of the alley has been blinking for the past 3 days, and tonight it stopped shining completely. The darkness unnerves him. In combination with his own depression, this part of his commute gives him the creeps. Uh-oh. stops and turns in the direction of the strange sound. It was just like the creaky sound made when you sit on a stubborn old chair. He looks around but doesn't see anything suspicious. He only heard it once. Maybe it had just been his imagination. Even so, it's still creepy to hear something strange on a dark, lonely street. It is. He subconsciously picks up the pace, filled with irritation. It's just not his day. He could have gotten home sooner without a mistake at work, and he wouldn't feel so unsettled if it weren't for the dead street lamp. He recalls there's one more burdensome facet to misfortune. Strangely, misfortune begets more misfortune. It never rains, but it pours. As the saying goes, bad things will keep happening. And at times, misfortune makes its way to you as though hunting down prey, no matter how alert you are. He wonders if he should take the day off tomorrow so he can stem the tide of this series of disasters. But even if he does that, he will end up having to work at his home desk all day. The best thing about it would be that he doesn't have to care about his co-workers, especially one of his bosses who gives him snide stares and plenty of earwigging all the time. It's not a bad idea. He decides to call the company first thing in the morning. With that burden lifted from his shoulders, he continues along his route home with a lighter heart. Unfortunately, that small comfort was not to be. He would not be able to take the day off the next day. Neither would he be able to call his company the next morning, nor even return home. That was because his theory was proved correct by himself. Misfortune begets more misfortune. Once a toothed gear gets off its track, even slightly, it can lead to another distortion. It's not unthinkable that someone or something in that darkness did hold evil intent toward the man. He just didn't know it. He didn't know that what was in that creeping darkness had already claimed a knick-knack shop owner he knew. And that he himself was its next target. To be fair, the shop owner asked for it. But what about this man? Was there any reason for him to suffer this disaster? Was there any reason for him to get his head chopped off while still alive? We're gonna finish up the question mark scenario side. And then I think we're gonna stop for today. But, nice. Okay. The days the little girl spent with the boy are filled with excitement. The kinds of ordinary moments they shared might seem predictable and boring to other people, but for her, they are novel experiences. No need to lose your head! Just a little chit-chat is far more amazing than any manga or TV show she has seen. Lightning striking somewhere near the hospital last night. The middle-aged man next door tumbling over terribly. Each topic is silly, but the way the boy spins them into amusing stories is like magic. The girl can't figure out why. She was astonished when he searched for a room and showed up to apologize after they had crashed into each other. She didn't believe he had anything to feel guilty about, but he went through the trouble of finding her and apologizing without even knowing her name. Above and beyond the apology, he started enthusiastically talking about how he had sought out her room, who he was, and how he had wound up hospitalized. At first, she wasn't sure how to react to this one-sided conversation, but she soon found herself laughing and chiming in with the stories he told. A week has passed since then. He comes to visit her room every single day. A week ago, all she had was anxiety and suffering, but she now appreciates the wonderful times she's having. Yet, she has started to feel something she never has before. What if she had not bumped into him? What if he had not come looking for her? All those ifs unsteady her mind as though there is no ground to stand on in the world. She's not only uneasy about the past. How much longer is this splendid period of time going to last? How long will she be together with him? And when he leaves the hospital, will she return to how she was a week ago? She now routinely imagines these kinds of sad scenarios for her own future. I wonder if it's going to be like Chiharu being the small girl there, or if it's going to be someone completely different. Chapter 1! The city dyed orange! Oh, I was about to say the city dyed red. Oh wow, this is one of those old style save slots where you can even comment on it and be like... Cool, what's this one? Oh, there's a flowchart when everything takes place. Kind of. Fascinating. I would like to go back to the title screen. And please don't give me the entire fucking story again. Just let me go to... Okay, thank you.
マジカルアイス
That is for Anguish.
Cool! I do not understand why the game is making everything so horribly laggy, but it's nice. I'm liking it so far. When I tap out of it right now, we're going to be back to seeing my Steam window, which is fine. We're just gonna pretend that we see her. That is good. Her smile is very nice. I like the art style. I love the art style. Story seems interesting so far. I have no clue where exactly we're going with it. My bad would be on her being the hospitalized girl. But I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see about it. We managed to clear one single chapter, so I think it's gonna be a little longer than what people keep saying, like, oh, it's just 10 hours long. I think it's gonna be a little longer, but hey. Thank you for nice stream. No, thank you for coming. Thank you for the pat. We'll be continuing this game on Wednesday, Sunday, more SK and Logi on Friday, and more Yakuza 3 on Saturday. As usual, I'll be posting. I will have hiccups. I'll be posting a schedule in a bit. For now, I wish all of you guys a very, very good night. Thank you for a nice stream. It was fun. Hope everyone has a fantastic night. You too. I'm going to send you guys over to Artie, who is back from his vacation. I think he came back from his vacation yesterday, actually, and who's right now playing Super Mario Sunshine, which is always a fun time. It's one of the Mario games that I've not played it, but I've seen a lot of it. But yeah, here is the raid message. Artie's your sunshine. Here's the raid message. I wish all of you guys a very, very good night. Sleep tight. I'll see you all soon. And bye bye. Bye bye bye.